Welcome to Kickoff Week, presented by Gillette. For the Pac-10 Conference, it's the Oregon State Beavers, 9-4 last year, taking on the Stanford Cardinal from beautiful, refurbished Stanford Stadium. Well, after a manic 2007 season, the 2008 kickoff is just around the corner. Hi, everybody. Ron Franklin, and welcome to Palo Alto, California. And, of course, that means Pac-10 country. Out here, they play a true round robin, which means you can have a conference game right out of the box. No cream puffs, no easy team on the schedule. And that's what we have this evening. You know, that situation can change week in and week out, though. When you look back at last year's season in the Pac-10, Southern Cal, a huge favorite over Stanford, and they lose at home in the Coliseum. And how about Oregon State? They go to Oregon and win in double overtime. It means one thing. When Pac-10 conference play begins, don't take anything for granted. Well, somebody we certainly don't take for granted is a guy who played at Washington in the Pac-10 Conference. Ed Cunningham, great to have you back for our third season together. Talk about the difficulty of having to play a conference game just right out of the box.
Well, I don't need to talk about it. Jim Harbaugh yesterday talked about it at length, talking about he's trying to rebuild a program, and he gets Oregon State, who won 9 games last year, to open up. But it does help you stay focused. Now, for Oregon State, the key, 2 years in a row, they've started 2-3. The starting part of this schedule, next week they have to go to Penn State. Very difficult. They've got to get off to a fast start. They haven't been able to do it, change some things around, but it is very difficult. But I always fall on this side, Ron. It keeps you focused during camp. When you've got a conference opponent, which we did twice when I was at Washington, you don't start to lull yourself to sleep through training camp. 2
families, 2 head coaches that know each other well, both on and off the field. Tonight's head coaches have a very close working relationship. We'll have more on that, plus Jackaroo and the opening kickoff when we return. Welcome back to Palo Alto, California, and let's discuss something that has been much discussed already, but to try to explain to you a little bit better. Probably the most major of all rule changes at Cunningham is what they're doing with the clock. A 40-second play clock after each play. It is set to 25 seconds after what is called administrative stoppages, in other words, penalties, timeouts, replays, and the game clock restarts after out-of-bounds plays once the ball has been respotted, except with 2 minutes left in either half. How's it going to speed up, or is it going to speed up the game?
The 40-second clock, the reason they went to that is they wanted normalization across all conferences, how long it takes to set the ball. They just wanted 40 seconds between plays. The big one, I believe, Ron, is the out of bounds, because these kids are so used to the clock being stopped and out of bounds. So you're down 2 scores, you better be doing hurry up, 5 minutes left in the half.
Oregon State had won the toss. They have deferred to the second half. Cahoot prepares to kick it off for the Beavers, and we have Gatewood along with Stewart as the 2 deep men for Stanford. Cardinal to handle the ball for the first time tonight, and from the 5-yard line, it's Gatewood. 20, hurdles the man at the 25, still on his feet, and is going to take it out to the 31-yard line. So take a look at the top of your screen, the starting lineups offensively for the Cardinal. And as you take a look at that, we also will introduce number 14, Davita Pritchard, the starting quarterback for tonight's ball game. And you look at his numbers, but the numbers most important to the faithful of the Cardinal is what he did against Southern Cal last year.
Yeah, that 1 touchdown on the fade to Bradford will forever be remembered, not just here, but in all of college football.
Anthony Kimball will get the first handoff, and he's going to go straight ahead for a gain of about 5 yards on the play. And now let's take a look at the impact players offensively for the Cardinal.
Well, we already saw Anthony Kimball. He was the leading rusher the last 2 years, had a shoulder last year, injury, missed 5 games. Good to have him back. Also, another important back, Toby Gerhardt, who missed almost the entire season, had 140 yards in 1 game against San Jose State. And leading the way is Owen Marisic. He's such a tough blocker, Ron.
We'll keep an eye on him tonight. The head coach absolutely loves him. Follow him right now. Key block, and Marisic will pave the way for the first down, which has been picked up for the Stanford Cardinal.
Watch here with Marisic. This young man is just so good at what he does. Watch the fullback as he gets out. He's going to go for a cut block. Here he is right here. He's going to go for a cut block, and what's great about this, He gets two guys. And I know that the guy came over the top, made the tackle, but when you go low and people are trailing, Marisik did a great job deciding to go low on that block.
Cornell finally came over to help make the stop. We'll talk about Marisik a lot tonight. His head coach sure talks a lot about him. Pressure is on, and a sack is going to be recorded at the 39. That's Slade Morris, number 58, a senior out of Portland. Victor Butler was also applying pressure. And also now take a look at the top of the screen, and as we scroll, the starting lineup for the Beavers defensively.
Key for Oregon State, lost all starters from their front seven who led the nation last year against the rush. These guys didn't start, but they are experienced up front.
And there were people at the end of the year that thought that possibly they were better than Southern Cal defensively at the end of the year, as Kimball gets spun around and knocked out of bounds, and it's Christic who grabbed him by the jersey.
And one of the rules that was implemented this year is no longer a horse collar tackle. That will be a 15-yard penalty. The reason that this is not a penalty is the rule says that the player has to be yanked down immediately. And you could see that Kimball kept his balance, and so they made the right call not calling Keaton Christic for grabbing the inside of the pads there.
We're going to change at quarterback. Alex Lucas is in the ball game. Pritchard stays in the ball game, wants to throw, and throws it to Lucas, who is out wide at wide receiver. So Pritchard throwing to Lucas, quarterback to quarterback, and that's a good athletic move just to come back to catch the football at the 48.
Well, and you see that right now Jim Harbaugh trying to create a little confusion for Oregon State by putting two quarterbacks out there.
Look at the no huddle here as they try to set up their punt formation. Special teams for Oregon State still not on the field. They are getting set, but the ball had already been snapped, and here's the boot. This is Green, the punter, and it's going to hit at the 5. Takes a Stanford bounce, but it goes into the end zone. It'll be a touchback. 51 yards on the punt. So we will take a look at the Oregon State offensive lineup. And again, watch the scroll on the top of your screen, and you'll see the starting 11 for the Beavers tonight.
Let's go!
And as the Beavers come on the field, talk about the gentleman Lyle.
Roy Val comes in. He started the last part of the season. There was an injury to Sean Canfield. He went 4-0 as a starter, and of course after the bad start they needed that finish to get to a bowl game.
McCants back in the I formation. They fake it to Strouder. They give it to McCants, and he's going to be whacked down hard at the line of scrimmage, and Egbo records his first tackle. Let's check in on the sideline with the third member of our broadcast team. Here's Jack Aru. Jack.
Thank you. And, you know, one thing you got to think about is that fake to Strouder. Well, that's just the first part of the equation. You want the X factor? It's him. He broke into the season in 06 and had everybody wowed in Corvallis, but then the loss of two family members and a coach that recruited him, and he fell into what was eventually determined to be clinical depression. He had a couple of starts last year, but I talked to Mike Riley before the start of the game. He said, Sammy's back, and one thing about it, Ed, that'll give him an added dimension offensively.
Jack, a fumble on the play, but it was recovered as McCants got back on it, and so a loss, and it's going to be third down and very long for the Beavers.
Well, a lot of play fakes by Oregon State. You see a lot of colleges doing this now. Wake Forest with what they call that orbit motion, and that just was not a clean handoff. When Moyval turned to try to fake the ball to James Rogers, he never got it stuck into the belly of McCants.
So it's third down, and the line to make is out at the 30. So for all intent and purposes, it is a third down and 10. Spread for Oregon State. 4 wide receiver set. Rogers in the ball game. Jaquiz, and they put it in his stomach. And Jaquiz is going to be stopped after a gain of only 1. An exciting freshman running back gets his first carries out of Richmond, Texas. And we're going to see a lot of him this evening as Maynard, the linebacker, is there to make the stop. Kecker is back to punt. And it's Baldwin who is back deep for the Cardinal, number 89. High passer coming after him, and the ball is partially blocked. That ball is hot. And you see Stanford running away from it. The ball is dead. It'll be Cardinal football at the 34-yard line. And Stephen Carr is the man who came in and got a hand on it.
And this is all new. This is a new battery. True freshman Marcus Perry is the snapper, and Johnny Hecker, a true freshman. Both of them first-year players. That took forever to get off. That ball has to come out of there quicker.
And, I mean, you played center, and as much football as you played, both collegiately and in the pros, do you think it's something they saw in warm-up that maybe he was a little slow?
Absolutely. Head coaches always tell their special teams coach, go out and time how long it takes them to get it off. That took forever for Hecker to get his foot on that ball. The snap was not that bad. Hecker just took too much time.
Toby Gerhardt will come in a tailback for Stanford. First time we've seen him. He gets the handoff, tries to sweep right, and I mean nothing. The Beavers are right there to stop that one. Second tackle for Victor Butler already, and he is one of the key defensive figures for Oregon State.
Well, last year they had 2 rushing defensive ends, and of course Butler with 10.5 sacks. And we already saw Slate Norris have a tackle. They came in on 3rd down. What they need to find out, what Oregon State is looking for tonight, is can these guys hold up against the run? That time, Butler looked really good. Both these guys under 250 pounds, so they could wear out as the game goes on.
And one of the question marks that the coaches told us on the phone just this past week, would he be better against the rush or against the pass? And he's proving right now he's very formidable against the run. The impact players for the Beavers on defense are?
Well, we just looked at Victor Butler. The question is, of course, can he hold up against the run as well as he plays against the pass? And in the backfield, the 2 corners, Brandon Hughes and also Keenan Lewis, both these guys right at about 6 feet, combined 65 starts. And it was interesting, Mark Banker, the defensive coordinator, said, look, these guys are talented and experienced. We need to see it pay off this year with more interceptions.
Well, here's a 3rd down. 3rd down at about 8.5 in the flat, and he leads him just a little too much. That's a hard pass across the body. Now my question to you is, with this young kicker, he's a junior, but you asked the head coach, what's the range that you trust him from?
Yeah, and this is from what Coach Harbaugh told us about Aaron Zachary, is this is right on the edge of his comfort level. We're right at about 50 yards, Ron. This is, you're starting to creep out long. You can see career in 2007, not even close to this.
He's out of Straight Jesuit High School in Houston, Texas, and we're going to say it's a 50-yard attempt on that right hash mark. Gets a good pass. Does he have the distance? It's trying, and it is no good. Wide to the right.
It's a tough spot to be in there. You know, you're at that 32-yard line. If you punt it, you may go into the end zone. It doesn't help.
So officially they're saying he missed a 49-yard field goal attempt. We'll be right back. So we are back, no score in Stanford. 8 minutes and 50 seconds left until halftime.
Jim Harbaugh in his 2nd year. His first big decision there. His kicker just didn't finish the kick. If he'd have followed through, he had plenty of distance, may have pulled it around.
Well, I'm sure that Jim Harbaugh got a little lump in his stomach from thinking as Jacques Rogers gets the carry, has 10. Flag goes down, and he's going to take it out for a gain of 13. But let's see from where that marker has been thrown. Chris Evans finally made the stop. But to complete my thought, Coach Harbaugh has to think, wow, we got to take advantage of situations where we get a block kick, partially blocked, and get it in that kind of field position. Going to be holding against the Beavers.
Jack Wood of the Pac-10. It is a Pac-10, of course, officiating crew, as you would suspect in a Pac-10 game. And you start to see Jacquizz Rodgers. Everyone's so excited about this young man during training camp. The all-time leader for rushing touchdowns in Texas high school history. And you wonder,
I can't begin to tell you the names that he passed. I mean, we're talking about a who's who even in the pros.
And you start to see it already in those first runs when he gets in that open field. It looks like he's gliding. And what he does is he sets you up. That's James Rodgers there. That's his older brother who came here the year before Jacquizz, which was a big part of that equation. But he sets you up, and then he'll cut so fast he'll make you miss.
Kids call him Quiz. They don't call him Jacquizz. It's Quiz. Gets the handoff, takes it to the right side. And you look and you say, well, he's not very big in stature. Well, don't forget one thing. He weighs 200 pounds or a little bit more. He may only be 5'7", but he's got huge calves, and he is not as fast as his older brother James, but there's just a smidgen of difference there.
And that was I mean, listen, everybody in the state of Texas around the Big 12 wanted Jacquizz Rodgers, but they were true to his brother James, who was very lightly recruited because he is a small guy, and Oregon State got him. It was a great story of how they got him, and Jacquizz wanted to come play with his brother.
2nd down and 10, no score. We are through the midway point of this opening quarter. Pass, that is Strouder, gets his first catch behind the line of scrimmage. And you talk about being prepared. Can you tell that defense, they said, if 19 pulls up at the line of scrimmage and going to touch that quick out, you better be there on him.
The one thing, remember, the Stanford Cardinal have a new co-defensive coordinator in Ron Lynn. Spent 11 years of his 20 years in the NFL as a defensive coordinator. And the one thing that they worked on, and he was so excited when he got here and saw Wapama Osaisai at corner, the 100-meter champion in the Pac-10, and they've really worked on his technique. He's going to be a fine one.
Well, the thing they're looking for is what you've talked about already on the telecast. They're looking for more speed on the defensive side, and of course Osaisai brings that to them. Quick out pass, that one is complete to Strouder, and Sammy's going to have no, he's not going to have the first down. I beg your pardon. Because of the loss of about 6 yards on the play prior to that, it will be punting time again, and it's Osaisai with the tackle. What do you look for? They go after him again?
Absolutely. Listen, and I guarantee you that over on the sideline, Mike Riley went to his freshman kicker, Hecker, and said, you've got to get it off. And Ron, look for a shank here, because if he rushes it, he may kick it off the side of his foot.
Baldwin is the deep man for the Cardinal. Good pass. Here's the pressure. And he semi-did what Ed was talking about. Shanked it just a hair. Baldwin, no fair catch. A little chancy right there, and he'll be tackled at the 24-yard line. So we'll take a timeout. 6:49 left. Opening quarter. Stanford, Oregon State. No score. The Golden Gate Bridge. And some gorgeous sunshine today, but I'll tell you, it brought some heat that the people here in Northern California are not only not accustomed to, they weren't real happy about, you know.
And Jim Harbaugh changed sidelines this year for this exact reason. Oregon State is still in the sun. Stanford's been in the shade since the beginning of the game.
Gerhardt checks in to tailback. Looking to throw. Pritchard's going to run it. 25-30, slides down wisely at the 32-yard line. And let's go down again to Jackaroo. Jack?
What you just saw, guys, may be one of the reasons why Tavita Pritchard added 15 pounds. He calls it lean muscle, not body fat, in the offseason. He said he feels like he was concerned that he had to be tougher, but he also was worried that it might affect his speed. He was very surprised at fall camp that it didn't.
Well, Lucas on the carry, having Pritchard on the carry, but Lucas is in the ball game now. Gunder, the man in motion, straight ahead on quarterback keeper. Nice fake and holding on to the football, and is going to be tackled for about a 5-yard loss. Victor Butler with unofficially his third tackle here in the first quarter.
And Pritchard was very thin last year, about 180 pounds, and they really needed to have him gain some weight. But this has nothing to do with his play. The reason Lucas is in, part of the plan. Jim Harbaugh said these guys were so close through camp. They're both very similar quarterbacks. So Lucas, who really grew through the spring and fall, has earned the right to get a couple of series early.
Third down, they need to take it to the 34. He is going to hold on to it, and good heavens, does he pay the price. That hit by Bryant Cornell, the senior. Man, he came up along with Christic and really stuck the quarterback on that play. You could hear it all the way up here.
Yeah, they're trying to use the running back as a lead blocker. And Oregon State, I tell you, it doesn't look like they've lost much from last year. I know they lost 7 starters. All these guys played a lot. They are awfully quick up front.
Neither team now has converted a third down situation. Great high hanging spiral. All the way back to the 21-yard line. Strouder near sideline. 25-30 and gets knocked out of bounds. I don't see a flag, but he was a long way out of bounds where that hit came.
Yeah, that's a penalty. You know, this is one of the points of emphasis this year is this exact thing, and I can't believe they didn't call this, Ron.
So Strouder out of bounds, and then he gets taken out hard. Game there, Michigan State and Cal. That's where this crew will be on Saturday evening up in Berkeley for a game on ABC with the Cal Bears taking on the Spartans of Michigan State. McCants into the ball game and running back, but the quick out pass goes to Rogers, and James Rogers is going to have a first down plus a chunk across midfield. This is the best starting position by Oregon State their first 3 possessions.
Well, this play is completely set up by an unbelievable block by Sammy Strouder. This is exactly what Ron Lynn, the defensive coordinator, was telling us that Oregon State does as well as anybody in the country, is their receivers block downfield. Watch Strouder go in there with a great cut block on the outside leg of Chris Evans, and Evans gave up contain, but Strouder did a great job of getting on that outside leg to make that happen.
So first down for the Beavers, and the first time that they are across midfield. Quick out pass to the other side. There's James Rogers again. And so something we're not going to be surprised to see is a lot of the Rogers brothers tonight along with Strouder. Jackaroot, what do you got for us?
Well, Ron, you notice they're really going to the near side a lot with their passes. One of the reasons is right there, the sun. And Mike Riley noticed that before the start of the game. Here's what happens if you're on the far side, especially in a long pass play. When you look back as the receiver, the sun just makes you squint. He says we'll live with it until the sun goes down. They rather have the deferral to the second half on the coin toss.
And Jack, also a point can be made that if Oregon State, looking back into the sun, can come up with any kind of score on this drive, that is a super plus on their side. Handoff on the sweep, this time to McCants. 35 down to the 32. That's enough for the first down as Oregon State mixing it up with pass, then run. Chris Evans with his 3rd tackle of the first quarter.
And it looks like this offensive line for Oregon State starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm. McCants more of a power runner, but Marcus Henderson, who was expected to be the starter, is out with mono-like symptoms. But in the big loss, Jeremy Perry, who is an NFL guy. I mean, he's a senior, but he's been battling a knee injury. His conditioning wasn't there, not playing. So a bunch of young guys in there. And on that left side, Levitre, who you just looked at, is the most consistent of the men up front for Oregon State.
First down, the line of scrimmage now, the 32. Stanford creeps up on the blitz and straight ahead with McCants. And on a necktie tackle, he is going to be stopped after a gain of 4.
Well, we'll take a look at the impact players for Oregon State. Ryan McCants at 240 pounds, a redshirt freshman. He can really get up and down the field once he plants his foot. We've already seen Strouder. The thing I've seen early with Strouder, though, is the great blocking downfield. And James Rogers, we're going to talk a lot about his brother Jaquiz, but James really was one of the heroes at the end of the season last year when Evanson Bernard went down and Strouder was already out. He really stepped up his game as a true freshman for the Beavers.
This time on the short side of the field. Stanford creeps up and flags go down.
Full start. Offense, number 73. 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
It's time for SportsCenter right now, and let's go back to Scott Reese.
All right, Ron. Adam Jones fully reinstated from his 17-month NFL suspension, which followed an accumulation of arrests and legal problems. He is clear to play for the Cowboys now during the regular season. Baseball this afternoon, Jason Giambi with a game-tying homer in the 7th, game-winning single in the 9th, and the Yanks beat the Sox 3-2. SportsCenter 11 Eastern, ESPN. Stay current with ESPN News, guys.
Well, the two Rogers brothers in the lineup right now for Oregon State. And with all the flipping and switching, the quarterback, I think, was confused. So Lyle says, let's call a timeout and talk it over with our coaching staff. So we're going to stay right here with 2 minutes and 13 seconds left to play in the opening quarter.
Well, let's show you what we were talking about a moment ago with Strouder. Watch on this screen pass out to James Rogers. And again, downfield, look at the hands inside. And the beautiful thing he does, as soon as the defender starts getting away from him, he lets him go, so he's not going to get called for holding. And these are the little things. If you're going to run this type of offense, where you're throwing it out to little guys and you have to have people block, because that's just like a screenplay. Your receivers better be downfield. And even though Straughter, not the biggest guy, they work very hard at this at Oregon State. They're very good at it.
I'll tell you, that play right there could be used by coaches all over as the way to throw the kind of block that he did.
You know, it was interesting. We were talking to Ron Lynn, and of course he was retired for several years, the new co-defense coordinator at Stanford, and he was talking about that Ohio State-Florida game. And he said the reason that that game was such a mismatch was because Florida was so good on the edges with their receivers blocking the Ohio State people, there was too much space. And so the speed even looked worse.
So it's 2nd down and 12. Jacquizz Rodgers is the man behind the quarterback, 7 yards behind. Pass comes middle screen. Straughter, 25. Close to the first down at the 22-yard line. And let's see where they're spotting him down. I think he is going to be right at the first down marker. Scaffold is the man who came over to make the tackle, and the referee says yes, it is a first down. Gain of 12 on the play.
And this is more of a standard screen where they're going to come in the middle and you're going to see linemen coming out to block. So now you're getting bigger bodies. This is so difficult for a defense to know when you have that many screens. You know, if it's a receiver down there, maybe the safety can beat him. That time, Oregon State gets 2 offensive linemen out to pick up the first down.
McCants back in the ball game, the 240-pound tailback. And they hand it off on a sweep. James Rodgers turns the corner. 20, 15, collared as a flag goes down. And remember, if that's face mask, this case it will be half the distance, but there is no more 5-yard penalty. It is a personal foul and 15 yards. That's one of the rule changes this year.
And I think it was clearly a face mask. The thing they're looking for is, does the head turn? And I'm glad they threw that incidental 5-yard face mask out. And watch right at the end. What, again, on the edge, a great block by
face mask. Defense, number 24.
Chris Evans.
Penalty will be half the distance to the goal.
Senior out of Monroe, Michigan, is the man who is flagged for the face mask. And a penalty now, this is going to take it down inside the 10-yard line to around the 6. So again, we make the point that Jacquizz came up with. They are going with the sun, and it's about to go away, but still in that far corner of the end zone, that's a tough sun to look back into. If they score at this end of the field, well, this is a big star in their crown.
And no receivers over here because you can't throw a fade over there. The guy wouldn't be able to see it.
Jacquizz Rodgers in the backfield. He'll get the handoff to the left. Puts a head down inside the 5, and he's close to the 4.5-yard line. Interesting that Jacquizz coming in and having an older brother who was already there. The situation was he knew the system as far as he hadn't learned the system, but he knew what the team was like, what they were about. He knew a lot of players because of through his brother, and it made it a much easier transition. Mike Roddy said, you know, that's one of the reasons that he is ahead of other freshmen.
And the Rodgers brothers, really good guys. They work very hard. They work together, and their work ethic, Mike Roddy said both of them are blessed with great work ethic.
3 tight ends in the ball game right now. Straughter in motion. That's who they're looking for. Back in the end zone. Touchdown, Straughter. Now they're going to say out of bounds.
Yep. Never got a foot down. It was Osai did an excellent job. And in college football, no matter if you're hit or not, you have to establish in the field of play. Straughter would have come down and gotten a foot down. That's a nice play, not giving up by Osai to knock Straughter out. But remember, college football, doesn't matter. You have to establish it, whether you're hit or not. You have to establish it in bounds. Good call.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So it brings up a 3rd down situation. Ball resting at the 5-yard line. And the man who made the play. 9th play of the drive coming up. Jacquizz Rodgers in the backfield again, and they're going to have to call another timeout. But better to do it here than have a mistake at the 5-yard line. And let's check in quickly with Scott Reese. Scott?
All right, Ron, and this is the last way you want to begin a new college football season. NC State, South Carolina. This is Russell Wilson, redshirt freshman quarterback for NC State. He goes down on the hit by Jordan Lindsay, but another look at what appeared to be an innocuous quarterback tackle was anything but, as the knee of Cliff Matthews goes to the helmet of Wilson. He lay motionless, had to be carted off, taken to the hospital. They are calling it a concussion. Gamecocks lead 3-0 at the half, guys.
Alrighty. Our situation, 29 seconds to play, opening quarter. No score between Stanford and Oregon State. And it's the Beavers who are threatening right now with a third down at the 5-yard line.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you see some type of reverse motion where you try to get Stanford going to the left and come back to the right. You've got Jacquez Green, you've got Straughter down here. Wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of motion to the left to get the defense headed that way.
Well, Quiz is the up back. Hands on his knees at the 12-yard line. 7 yards behind. Back to throw. Pressure going to be hit. Holds on to the football, and it's Foué. Sione Foué, a redshirt freshman. I beg your pardon, actually a freshman right out of high school. 6'2", 310 pounds.
A little surprised. Oregon State just stayed in a standard formation and went with a drop back pass. Moival, that's not really his strength. Canfield, who's not going to be able to play, is more the drop back passer. I was a little surprised they went with a straight drop back there.
So that is the end of the opening quarter. We'll take one more look at that sack. When we come back, we'll get a chance to see the field goal attempt. You see the pressure, and there's the tackle right there. No score. We come back. Beavers with a chance. So we are back, and you're looking at a sophomore out of Portland, Oregon, Justin Cahoot. And, you know, he's following a young man by the name of Cerna, who won the kicking award in collegiate football after getting off to a tough start down at Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We'll talk more about that in a moment. High pass. Ball is down. 27-yard attempt is good. Well, off the top of the telecast, we talked about the two families, the two coaches, and how close that they are. Well, they go all the way back to the San Diego Chargers when Mike Riley was the head coach, and, of course, Jim Harbaugh was the quarterback.
And, you know, it's interesting talking to Mike Riley about Jim Harbaugh. When he got to San Diego, they just weren't very good. And he said it was Jim Harbaugh. They had no business going 8-8 in that year. He said it was the toughness and leadership of Jim Harbaugh that really got it done. He said he was always leading drills. He was always leading conditioning. He was just such a good force for that team, and they've remained close throughout the years. And you know, I think we forget sometimes how tough Jim Harbaugh was as a player, even though he played quarterback.
Well, Jay Harbaugh, his son, is at Oregon State on the staff.
Yep. And Jim Harbaugh's son, Jay, we asked him. He is a student assistant coach at Oregon State. He had asked before Jim Harbaugh took the job here at Stanford, he had asked Mike Riley if Jay could come up there and help out. And he said, absolutely, send him up. And we asked if Jim had talked to Jay. He said, well, I didn't talk to him this week.
Oh, my. Well, but it's really interesting and very obvious with talking with both head coaches, both Harbaugh and Riley, that when they talk of the other, they speak with really endearing terms, that they are truly good friends and have a lot of admiration for each other. From the 2-yard line, Gatewood, far sideline, 25, and then a really hard tackle as he gets out to the 27.
And they are so close that in the media guide for Oregon State, there is a quote from Jim Harbaugh talking about exactly what you're talking about, how Mike Riley really empowers you as a player, play hard, play well, be creative, and hasn't seen a team that plays harder. And in fairness to Mike Riley, who the next year they won 1 game as head coach, that team was just not very talented. And that 8-8 record, he really credits to Jim Harbaugh.
You know what's interesting is we got a stoppage here as the whistle blows on first down.
And started on the ready for play.
So they're going to reset the clock, reset the 40 to 25 seconds. Stanford has only completed 1 pass, and that was the backup quarterback, and that is it. And now they're going what is going to be a shady field, and straight ahead on the running play as Pritchard is back in the ball game, and it's Kimball. He'll have about 3 yards, and that's going to be about it.
But one of the things that Stanford really struggled with last year was the health of their running backs. We were talking about at the top of the show how Anthony Kimball missed 5 games. And of course, we may see Toby Gerhardt. He was battling a little hamstring through camp.
But I saw him once earlier on an earlier sequence. He got hurt after one game. That was the San Jose game, and he had 140 yards in that one. Here comes pressure. Pritchard hit from behind. Ball is thrown complete at the 40-yard line, and that's Whalen. Ryan Whalen, a sophomore out of Alamo, California, and Victor Butler, who's having a great night applying the pressure. Gain of 10.
Whalen, a young man who walked on last year, and he was so impressive in camp. They put him on scholarship immediately. Great pressure by Oregon State. Pritchard, all of the quarterbacks at Stanford, Lucas, Forsey, Airy, who we may see for the transfer from Michigan, all of them do very well moving in the pocket.
The ruling on the field is under review.
Well, we made it to 13:48 before we had our first review. It's worth noting, we're talking about a lot of these rules. There are some additional reviewable plays now, including field goals, whether they're over the goal post. That looks like a catch to me.
Really hard to totally tell. If you just joined us, the biggest thing that has happened for the Cardinal, they blocked a punt and had the ball in very good field position inside their 30-yard line and unable to come away with any points. They've missed on a, what was that, a 50-yard field goal attempt. And for Oregon State, they finally got the rhythm going. Probably should have had a touchdown with a couple of situations. Were unable to convert it.
After review, the ruling on the field stands.
So it's going to be a completed pass. But so that's how we are at 3-0. Really a nice, persistent job by Mike Riley's Oregon State football team. But boy, Strother, Osai made a terrific play to keep him from scoring a touchdown because he was open. Whalen in motion, straight ahead with the handoff, and that's Kimball. And Kimball's going to have short yardage. We'll check in with Scott Reese after a gain of 3. Scott?
All right, Ron, and we check in with Miami and Charleston Southern. The Canes trying to restore the pride in Miami football and doing a pretty good job of it on opening night. Here, already up 28-0 beginning of the third quarter. This is Greg Cooper, and he will bust it up the middle. 66 yards to pay dirt. He's got a rushing score as well. It's now 35-6 Miami.
Okay, it's been a long time since that used to be a regular part of their format down at Miami. Big opening. Gerhardt, 45-40, 35-30, down at the 21-yard line. You see why Gerhardt was able to have 140 yards in that game against San Jose last year. That's 36 right there.
Oregon State's going to stun inside. The linebacker's going to scrape, and it just opens up a humongous hole. You can see the linebacker is going to fill. That's number 50, Casey Nowak. And he lost his position on that gap. There was a stunt in front of him. He scraped too wide to the outside and opened up a huge hole. And good job by Gerhardt. You see that hole, you don't move, just get in the hole and get downhill.
Anthony Kimball. They go back to the other side. Turns the corner and is going to be tackled at around the 17-yard line. Jack Arute, what do you got?
Well, Ron, you watched that Gerhardt. You alluded to the fact he only played 3 quarters last year in that San Jose State game. He had 1 TD, 142 yards, and 140 yards and 12 carries. He not only injured his knee, and I quote Jim Harbaugh, he blew it out, every ligament in his knee. He's made a surprising comeback, and boy, he's a welcome addition to a much depleted running back core 1 year ago.
Jack, you're so right. To add to that story, as head coach said yesterday, the doctor that performed the surgery, and the team of doctors shocked that he was able to come back as quickly as he has. Going to spin for a couple of more yards. He'll take it to the 15.
And they were so excited about this young man. He's a two-sport player here for Stanford.
You see him stroke this ball right here in the College World Series. That was at a 16-5 victory. His stats, he had 247 home runs and 21 RBIs.
You sometimes forget, if you're only a football fan, how great the sports program here is at Stanford. Top to bottom, many times the best in the country.
0 for 3 in third down situations. Play, going to throw it short, and that is complete. He almost got his receiver killed. Once you have gone that far as a quarterback, you have to learn that the angle that you presented to the defense is virtually impossill to complete a pass.
Well, and this is a tight end, Kobe Fleener. Even though he's only 228, this is a pretty nice hit by a 6'1", 196-pound cornerback.
Well, let's check the spot and see if he picked up the first down. Gerhard.
I really like this job by Jim Harbaugh and his staff. They knew they were going to go for it, so what did they do? They ran up and snapped the ball right away. I really like that call by Stanford. Very heads up, and they caught Oregon State back on their heels. Oregon State had just set and was not quite ready for that play.
So it is a first down for the Cardinal. The ball just outside the 10-yard line, and they give it to Kimball, and Kimball running the wrong way, and he's going to go down for, that's going to be close to a 6-yard loss. Keaton Christic, a junior out of Fountain Hills, Arizona, makes the tackle.
You know, it's interesting talking to Mark Banker, the defensive coordinator for Oregon State. As good as they were on defense last year, they lost all their frontline starters at linebacker, but it's because of guys like Christic. He actually thinks that this is the most athletic group of linebackers that he's ever had since he's been at Oregon State. That's a lot to say. This team led the nation last year in rushing defense.
10th play of the drive coming up. 2nd down and goal to go. Steps up, throws it across the middle. Got it complete to Wadham. Inside the 5, and that's as far as he's going to go. And it's going to be a 3rd down and goal, and the ball will rest at around the 5-yard line. And let's check in again with Jackaroo.
Well, the series is without their fullback, Marasek. He came off the field, and they were working on his shoe. It was an equipment problem, not an injury problem. He wanted to get back in, and now they've changed the personnel. He's not out there yet.
Talking to Coach Harbaugh, Marasek, he was very quick when he was going through his 2 deep, explaining about every player. As soon as that young man's name came, he said, I'm not going to lie to you, he's my favorite.
He is a hard-nosed fella. Gerhard in the ball game at tailback, number 7. He's there to block, though, and they throw for the end zone. Incomplete. Ball knocked away, and a flag comes down. Fleener, the intended receiver, and it looks as though Clark
Well, they're going to get Clark for pass interference in the end zone. And unless I missed it, and of course I'm not as good of an angle, it looked to me like Clark got his left hand in there. It was a pretty clean breakup. They're using the body.
Interference. Defense, number 21. Ball will be placed at the 2-yard line. First down.
show that the killer part as far as
that's
Oregon State, Mark Banker, and the defensive coordinator is the fact that you have stopped them, and the flag comes in. Now they get a new set of downs, and it's from the 2. Gerhard, the stand-up man at tailback, gets the handoff right side. He gets blasted at the line of scrimmage, fights his way forward, but will not get in. Cornell and Christic combining on the stop for Oregon State.
Boy, this is a heck of a collision. Gerhard at almost 230 pounds. Looks like he's going to walk into the end zone.
He gets blasted at the line of scrimmage.
Really nice tackle by Cornell. He got his pads down. Go back to that pass break up there. That didn't look like pass interference. So if you're Oregon State, mark that one. That's going to hurt.
Quickly back to the line of scrimmage as Stanford continues to use that tactic. And they go to the left side this time. Touchdown, Toby Gerhard. And Mariasik is the man who was leading the way on the block, number 48. 73 yards in 12 plays.
Jim Harbaugh backing up his words. He said that left side of the line with left tackle Ben Muth. He thinks Muth is as good of left tackle as there is in the entire Pac-10. He goes on that side, and I know Marisic was leading the way, but he didn't need to do much.
Zachary to attempt the extra point. And he's got it. So as we go to break, one more look at Toby Gerhardt out of Norco, California. Good blocking in this 7-3 Stanford. So we're back. Stanford at home with a 4-point lead, and you see the far side of the field. And the coach is not chewing him out. He's explaining, isn't it?
No, Greg Newhouse is talking to Tim Clark, who I thought made a very good play on the ball. And this is probably just a keep your head in it. You know, don't get upset. They're going to call that sometimes. But what a big call on 3rd down and goal from the 5. If that's not called pass interference, you're at 4th down and goal from the 5. And you've got to think Stanford's kicking a field goal and coming over with 3, not 7. That was a big call. I didn't see that interference.
Well, the huge plays on the drive. Gerhardt with a 36-yard run from scrimmage, and he bounced it outside to the right. A 4th down conversion on a quick snap, and then the pass interference call, which came on 3rd down and 4. And so it is now 7-3. Golio prepares to kick it off for the Cardinal. From the 2, James Rogers. 25-30. Stops and then is going to be called out of bounds. Golio, the kicker. Scott Reese, let's check back to the studio with you.
All right, Ron, a lot going on a college football Thursday on the Family of Networks. Over on ESPN, South Carolina leading NC State 10-0. They have now gone to the second half of play. And ESPNU as we premiere ESPNU in HD. It's Vandy up on Miami of Ohio, 27-10, now 27-13. Redhawks just kicked a field goal, under 7 to go, 3rd quarter. Ron?
Okay, you know, one of the things people forget, they think Steve Spurrier, a really high-octane offense. That defense last year and this year, very, very good. Quiz Rogers comes back into the ball game at tailback. 7 yards off the line of scrimmage. They fake it to him. Going to go long. Got a man wide open, Strother. And I mean, it is just a breath too long, or that's going to go for a 65-yard touchdown pass.
One of the things when we were talking to Lyle Moyval, the quarterback who redshirted in 2006, so didn't work with Strother when he had such a great year. And then last year, Strother didn't play much. They've been working so much on their timing. And this ball needs just a touch more air. That ball was thrown flat. It was thrown flat. And Moyval's been working on his deep ball. He's lost some weight to try to help with his balance. And that ball just, he drove it. He's got to get that ball up in the air. Strother's fast enough to run under it if he puts some air on it.
From the shotgun, dumps it over the middle. Jacquez drops the ball. Rogers had it right in his hand and probably was thinking where he was going to run, as Amajoy was right there, the middle linebacker, and he was not going to let him go very far. Ron Franklin, Ed Cunningham, and Jack Arute coming to you from Palo Alto, California. 8:51 to play, 2nd quarter, and it's Stanford 7 and Oregon State 3. And for everybody who thought this one would be a high-scoring affair, has not gotten into that gear just yet. 3rd down for the Beavers. They need to take it out to the 45. Moyval zings it near sideline. Miscommunication. Strother was there, but he had turned and was looking back to the inside. Pass was thrown in front of him.
Yeah, and you can see the early season missed times. You know, he had Strother wide open on a fly route, just threw a little flat in that time. And it's really hard to tell. Was the quarterback off on his throw, or was Strother not set up where he should have been?
Now let's keep an eye. Early in the ball game, the first punt this afternoon, Hecker, the punter, was blocked. He's a little slow, and I'll tell you, they were close on that one. Stanford really did not have, it appeared, a block on, but they were darn close to the punter. Stephen Carr again. He's the man who keeps getting free there in the middle. So we'll take a timeout. 4-point lead, Cardinal. We'll be right back. We're about to take a look at as you review Stanford athletics. Welcome back, everybody, to Kickoff Week. It's presented by Gillette. Field position beginning to play a far more important role in this ball game as Anthony Kimball takes it straight ahead. We go down again to Jackaroo. Jack.
Ron, it is so much fun watching the clutch play of Stanford, but more fun watching their coach. Jim Harbaugh, sometimes you think he'd like to strap it back on. During that last drive, he carried every moment deep down in his heart. When all the players came off the field, he went to each and every one of them, high-fived them, and said, "We needed a drive. You gave us a drive. That's what I'm talking about."
You know, Jack, the interesting thing there, and he knows full well, this is not a schedule to succeed by when you got 5 home games and 7 on the road, and one of those 5 home games is against Southern California.
Well, last year got a chance to do a Stanford game, and Jim Harbaugh, as he's making sure that they get the spot right. He knows all about field position, but he would tell his players, attack today with the enthusiasm that the world has never seen. And he lives that way. And you really have to do that at a place like this. Look, Stanford was way down. They had won 1 game. Every other game the year before Jim Harbaugh got here from San Diego was a complete blowout. So to win 4 games, upset USC, it's starting to rub off.
Gerhardt into the ball game at tailback. Little play action to him. And throwing long, far sideline. Got a man open. 30-yard line. That's Doug Baldwin, the sophomore out of Gulf Breeze, Florida. And they look right on time on that pass play.
And you're starting to see Stanford's offensive line get protection. Oregon State not blitzing very much. And this offensive line, coached by Chris Dahlman, who played right here at Stanford, went on to a long NFL career, has done a really nice job. But they're starting to give, these are long routes that are taking a long time to get open, and the offensive line's doing their job well.
So with the first down, they go with the running play, bounces it outside Gerhardt. Flag is down, 20. 15, 10, 5, and I think this one's going to come back, which would be really a shame as Gerhardt is off to a really good start tonight, isn't he?
Well, he had 140 yards in his only game last year on 12 carries, so they're used to it.
Offense number 72, 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay.
Chase Beeler.
And this is an area where they had a couple of guys bounce around. Gustav Reidstedt was supposed to start at left guard. He is out with a concussion. Yeah, that is for sure Beeler. Well, you got to let go at some point. I mean, you know, we saw Strouder earlier when he got out on the perimeter, let go. Look, there's holding on every play. Let's not kid ourselves. As soon as they let hands be used in blocking, there's been holding. But you've got to be smarter than that. When the play goes away, you got to let go of that jersey.
So it'll be a new first down play. And right now what they're looking at is a first down and 20 as Kimball checks back in at tailback. Oregon State showed blitz, came off of it, throws it out in the flat to Herman. And the first time that we have seen Sherman tonight, he has been a big part of this offense. And first time that they could get him into action. Been a little shaken up during the preseason play as well.
And he didn't look fast. Here comes Stanford again. Hurrying up. Yep, I like this.
A little hurry up, and they are back at the line of scrimmage. Just as the referee says whistle the clock in, they're already out and on the football. Alex Fletcher, the center, the veteran. Looking pass over the middle. Incomplete. Knocked away by Brandon Hughes.
And it's worth going back, Ron, to why that. Remember, that game clock's now going to go with out of bounds. If you just joined us earlier, we were talking about some of the rules changes with the clock. Well, that's really nice timing by Hughes. But that's, I think, why Stanford went to hurry up there.
So it's incomplete. It'll be third down. They need the 21-yard line. Clock, 6:31 to play until halftime. It is Stanford 7 and Oregon State 3. Pritchard spins, hands it off. They try to go at right guard. There's not much there for Kimball as Victor Butler has really put his name on the defensive charts tonight. He has been virtually everywhere.
Kimball lost his helmet and his skull cap.
See, Victor lost his helmet as well, but it's because he hit Kimball the way he did.
Yeah, pretty. Butler going with strong Butler.
We are going to have a long field goal attempt, 41 yards. Aaron Zachary with the attempt from the near hash mark. Missed one from 50. Wide to the right. Good pass. Plenty of distance on this one. And he follows through and knocks it home. And plenty of congratulations on the way for Zachary, the junior, out of Straight Jesuit in Houston, Texas. 10-3, Stanford. We'll be right back. Well, when you're back, Stanford on top, 10-3. And I have to admit, after what started off as a very, very warm afternoon, we had a report that down on the field that the field temperature was 94 to 95 degrees. And now that the shadows have come over the stadium, it is cooling off considerably, far more like it should be in this part of California on a Thursday evening at this time. And the players have to be enjoying this temperature a lot more.
And Oregon State enjoying the fact that they're now in the shade. Beautiful facility here on the campus at Palo Alto. Built in 291 days year before last. And it is a magnificent structure seating 50,000 people. High end of end kick that's going to come down at the 4-yard line. And that's Rogers. And still on his feet, James fighting his way all the way out to the 30-yard line. That is a great second effort by him. Gillette presents Kickoff Week on ABC Saturday afternoons with regional college football coverage. Number 3 SC takes on Virginia or Utah and Michigan. College football presented by Best Buy, all a part of College Kickoff Week presented by Gillette. Saturday, 3:30 Eastern on ABC. Check your local listings for the game in your area. You know, it's amazing, Ron. I did a game here last year, and I could not believe what they did with this building. Played here in college. It is just... It's a beautiful, beautiful place, and it just doesn't even resemble what they had. And they worked with this berm on the side we're on as part of the structure.
Well, they faked a reverse and go straight ahead with the handoff. I came out and worked the East-West Shrine game many times at the old stadium, and it was in need of repair, no question about that. But this structure right here, very wisely built, a lot of steel, a lot of concrete. They did it economically. Not a bad seat in the house. There's no track around.
And I'll never forget, at the end of the 2006 season, Notre Dame was here to play a game, and out on the track on the far end of the stadium, the bulldozers were started up and ready to go. The second this stadium was empty, they brought in the bulldozers and got to work and didn't miss one game in the building.
Timeout, Oregon State. Their third and final timeout of the half.
That's going to be their last one of the first half. Couple called early by the offensive team, and now the third one there. 4:59 until halftime. We'll return after this.
Welcome back to Palo Alto. The score, Stanford 10, Oregon State 3. You know, you guys, you were talking about this new stadium. Well, Jim Harbaugh and the athletic director, they've came up with a new twist to try and build the attendance and the enthusiasm. And a lot of the ticket packages this season, they've offered a money-back guarantee. This is what they're telling their ticket patrons. If you don't like what you see, we'll give you your money back. I got to think they're not going to have to give much back so far.
No, they're doing okay, yeah.
Okay, Jack, thanks very much. 4:59 until halftime. You see the Cardinals showing blitz, and here they come up the middle. Play goes wide. That's James Rogers. Turns the corner, 40, and out to the 45, and that is a first down +4.
Now, this is a little wrinkle. Last year when they ran this play, Rogers used to come straight down the line of scrimmage. This is what they called the fly sweep. This one more like what we've seen from teams like Wake Forest, where Rogers is actually going to come deeper into the backfield. Again, this is all about speed. Gets to the outside, offensive lineman out in front, a leading tight end, and the defense just can't get there. Rogers is so fast.
13 yards picked up on the play officially, so they scrimmage from their own 45. Deep in the pocket. Got a man wide open, and this time he's on the money. Strouder, count it off. 15, 10, 5, touchdown. Sammy, 45 or 55 yards on the touchdown.
Well, that is something that Oregon State has. Danny Langsdorff, the offensive coordinator upstairs, has seen. Osai is the cornerback on that side, who is the Pac-10 100-meter champ. Well, they must have seen him biting on something, because that's the second time in a row.
He got turned completely around. And Osai was saying, oh, my.
And remember, 2006, before Sammy started dealing with off-the-field problems and depression, he led the Pac-10 with 92 yards per catch, and you're starting to see why.
K-Hoot, extra point attempt. It is perfect. And just like that, we are tied. So we'll hold it right here. 4:29 to play. Didn't take very long, did it?
Yeah, that was a completely busted coverage. Osai turned Straughter loose, and you could see him look back, and C.J. Easter, the safety, had come all the way down for run support. And you feel bad for Osai because he's the one who looks bad. He totally expected safety help, and he was way too late getting over there. Easter just coming in. It's worth mentioning, Austin Yancey, who would normally be at that safety position, a junior, out with a hamstring. So you lose that guy back there with all the experience, and Oregon State goes right at C.J. Easter, and he makes the mistake.
Well, you can see a very disappointed Wapamo Osai coming to the sideline. His teammates trying to comfort him, and they're probably saying the same thing. Hey, it wasn't totally your fault,
but it's so hard as a cornerback. And look, in fairness to Easter, we don't know if that was man coverage or some type of zone where the safety was supposed to be there. So you have to be fair. You're not sure really who made the mental error there, but that was obviously a bad mental error. And it looks to me like Osai over there talking his disappointment that maybe that was supposed to be zone coverage and the safety should have been deep on that ball.
K-Hoot kicks it off for Oregon State. Now tied at 10. High spinner from the 12. And that's Gatewood. Gatewood stepped out of bounds. That's a reason for the whistles to try to protect him. Straughter bioblast. Second team All Pac-10 in 06. Then missed 9 games last season. And named a team captain this time around.
And you know, he came back last year. He was really still dealing with that depression, and then he suffered a lacerated kidney in the 4th game against Arizona State, and he said it was kind of a blessing in disguise. He wasn't quite mentally ready to play and was granted an extra year of eligibility.
Gonna go on top. Got single coverage on the wing, and it is caught, and that is Baldwin. And then the ball comes out as a flag is thrown at the 40, let's call it the 37-yard line.
Well, they're going to call Keenan Lewis for pass interference. It looked to me like Baldwin may have had that ball when he landed.
Pass interference. Defense. Number 6. Penalty is declined. First down.
Yeah, they're going to give him the catch on it.
Remember, in college football, pass interference is a 15-yard, and that's the right call.
Yeah.
And look,
but he's holding on to the football right there. Yeah. Then it came out.
But you cannot blame Keenan Lewis. If you're beat at this level, and it's only a 15-yard penalty. That's right. So why not reach out and grab him? That's actually a very smart play by a veteran guy. I'm beat. I better grab that arm.
So now. Well, okay, it's being reviewed, but it should have taken him as long as it did us to look and see. That ball was secured, and it came out after he hit the ground, and the defender, Lewis, ripped the ball loose.
Now, what Keenan Lewis will get in trouble for in film is if you're going to cause the foul.
There's your pass interference right there.
If you're going to cause the foul, don't let him catch it.
Yeah. Well, see, he's got the football right there. And then it comes out.
Yeah, that's his ball. I agree with you. Absolutely agree with you, Ron.
40 yards on the completion. And to back up Ed's point, if you get pass interference, you gain your team 25 yards back the other direction, which is not a bad trade out, is it?
Well, give Baldwin a lot of credit. Not a very big guy at 5'11", 182 pounds. But was able to, he wrestled his left arm free enough to be able to secure the ball. And I agree. I mean, I'll be shocked if this is overturned. It looked like a nice catch by Baldwin.
Turning into a beautiful night here in Palo Alto as Jim Harbaugh comes out on the field and tells his offense, don't be up there talking with Oregon State or with the officials. Go back there and be set to call a play.
Jim Harbaugh still involved in the play calling. David Shaw, his offensive coordinator, up in the booth, sends him 2 to 3 choices per play. And then, and you know, it's funny because we've seen so many coaches around college football. Yeah, it still looks like a catch to me. Well, here's the thing. It has to be indisputable video evidence to overturn it. And to me, there's not enough there to overturn that. But Harbaugh, when we were talking to him yesterday, he said, you know, I have to have something going on. You know, we've seen Steve Spurrier give up play calling. We'll do a game across the way where Jeff Tedford has given up play calling at Cal. But Harbaugh, I think he's going to be at least involved in some part of the play calling for his entire career.
So for some reason, this is taking a very long time for them to review. As you see, the pass right there is caught. Then it is ripped out.
Well, I think it's a catch, but I think the bigger point is I don't think it's indisputable video evidence to overturn it.
But this to me is what's wrong with it. This should not take anywhere close to this long. We had one replay, and you could see that the ball is maintained as far as possession and where the defensive pass interference was.
And here's the key. You know why it shouldn't take that long? Because if it takes that long, it's not indisputable. Yeah, just move on. If you can't tell in the first couple of good looks, and we provide our TV truck provides the look. If you can't tell, get out.
After review, there is a change in the ruling on the field.
You got to be kidding.
Ruling on the field.
You got to be kidding. Tell me where you can dispute that. I'm sorry.
To the previous
That's all I'm going to say.
Where the penalty for defensive pass
I don't believe that.
Will be accepted and enforced. Return 6-yard line penalty.
Yeah, I happen to agree with Coach Harbaugh on that one. I just don't think it was indisputable video evidence.
Well, I started to say then the penalty has to be accepted.
Yeah,
we go back to that theory I was giving you of 15 yards instead of 40, which is a heck of a deal if you're Oregon State.
Well, if you're counting tit for tats, Oregon State, remember, had that pass interference that didn't look like a pass interference in the end zone on 3rd down. And now they get a little bit of a break. Although, look, don't let this take, if you're Stanford, don't let it take momentum away from you, because sometimes it can feel that way.
And here's my point, though. We've gone on over 5 minutes with this. Make the decision. Let the kids play. Penalty is enough. Don't penalize the kids as far as momentum and take them out of the game. Last year, we're in the Sugar Bowl, and we had the longest delay of any bowl game. It was a 6.5-minute delay.
People started leaving.
People started leaving. Yeah. You know, you got to make up your mind.
And they haven't added. And what they're looking at now is timing and field position. They'll go back and review that.
The ball will be placed. The ball will be placed on the hash mark on the other side of the field. The correct previous spot was the hash mark on the far side of the field.
Yeah, this is just taking too long. And they have not instituted. There's no timing on instant replay at the college level. I think it might be time for that, Ron. Minute and a half, 2 minutes. If you can't figure it out, move on. Play stands is called.
Wow. Okay, 4:05 left to play until halftime. Tied at 10. Stanford and Oregon State. Kimball in the ball game at tailback. Coutron is the man in at fullback right now, replacing Marison. And they take it hard to the left side. Maybe a gain of 1, and that's going to be it. So it'll be a 2nd down and long as Isaiah Cook leads the charge defensively.
And I don't want to keep hammering, but when that happens, it allows your defense to rest. And as the game goes on, the defensive side of the ball runs a lot more than the offense, because all the guys in the middle have to go chase the ball. The offensive lineman can just stroll down the field. You get that long of a break, and it looks like Oregon State got its win back.
So a quick jog to the line of scrimmage by Stanford. As we said, a 2nd down and long. And Pritchard deep in the pocket. Rolling, dumps it out in the flat. Going to have it complete. Well short of the 1st down, though. It's at the 46. That's Fleener on the receiving end.
And Fleener, they say he's a tweener. He's kind of in between a tight end and a wide receiver, and we've seen him used a lot. We saw him used down as slot receiver down in the red zone. So this is a young man who's not built exactly like a tight end, but has enough speed to walk away from the line of scrimmage occasionally as a receiver.
Gerhardt comes into the ball game at tailback. It's a 3rd down. They need to take it to the Oregon State 49-yard line. Near side, ball is caught. That is a heck of an effort by Ryan Whalen.
Well, you get the sense that Pritchard and Whalen like to play together. I mean, Pritchard had 3 wide receivers to his left, and Wheeler was running wide open. Pritchard never came off that side, and as soon as Whalen comes out of his break, look, you can't cover it any better if you're Keenan Lewis.
You can't. No, they can't.
But Whalen, a former walk-on, has really earned his stripes, and you get the sense that Pritchard very comfortable with Whalen.
Morisic checks back into the ball game at fullback. Good protection. Going to go long. And the ball well overthrown as Richard Sherman, the intended receiver, they had doubled up on him. And the ball was just thrown well out of reach.
You know, you mentioned earlier that Sherman was a little gimpy during camp. He does not look full speed. He looks like he's favoring that left knee. You can see it just doesn't look like he has a natural gait. And I just don't think he can go full speed right now.
Gerhardt again, this time on 2nd and 10. Somebody hit him on the ankle, broke the tackle. 40, 35, 30, 25, down the sideline. He will score. What a second effort. And it's a 46-yard touchdown. If you're an offensive lineman, go hug that young man because he made you look like $1 million.
You know what? He is so deceiving because he's so big. He looks like he's going to be a lumberer, but he actually has really long strides. And when Tim Clark, the cornerback, came up to try to clean that up, he took his angle all wrong because I don't think he thinks a guy that's almost 230 pounds can accelerate like that. That was great acceleration coming away from that pile.
Extra point is good by Zachary, and all of a sudden Stanford back on top, 17-10.
There's the strength part of it, and he's a very muscular guy too. But look how long those strides are. You just don't think a guy who's that thick and muscular is going to have that long of a stride. And watch him when he gets the corner. And I'm telling you, Clark, the cornerback, was in position and just totally blew his angle because he didn't think that Gerhardt had that type of top-end speed.
Well, it didn't take him long to get into the end zone because once he gets a straight line, he doesn't have to be a 4-point student to understand that's the shortest distance.
Right, and the key here to his favorite pro athlete, we showed you earlier. He's a baseball player here at Stanford. It's a pretty good pro athlete to go after. Now, just stay healthy.
Well, here's what he's done if you just joined us. Gerhardt, who just scored that 46-yard touchdown, he had a 36-yard run to set up their earlier score. So
we'll call that a triple.
We'll call that a triple, and on this one, we'll call it a home run. What do you think? Put it in the books that way, guys.
Pretty good slugging percentage.
Yeah, he's at least 2 for 2, if not 3 for 3. Kick to the 5-yard line. James Rogers. And Rogers this time is going to be covered up before he gets to the 20-yard line. And let's check in with Scott Reese. Scott.
All right, Ron, coming up on the Olive Garden halftime report, a lot of college football highlighted over on ESPN by North Carolina State and South Carolina. We'll update you. Lou Holtz offers some pearls of wisdom as we unleash Dr. Lou. And the Red Sox looking for one more regular season hurrah at Yankee Stadium. We'll show you Sox and Yanks right down to the wire. It's all coming up on the Olive Garden halftime report. We'll see you then. Ron?
Okay, our situation, 17-10, Stanford on top. First down from the 20-yard line. The Beavers of Oregon State. Rogers in motion. They get the ball out to him. He's got one-on-one coverage, and what an open field tackle. Give credit to Bo McNally. And folks, when you've got a little guy like that in space and you got him one-on-one, watch how low McNally gets down to make sure he does not get juked on the play.
And this is something that Stanford works so hard. And the one thing that Ron Lynn, the new co-defensive coordinator, was worried about is tackling in space. They worked really hard in the spring and fall on that.
Gets this one out. That one's going to be incomplete. And the clock will stop with the 91 seconds left in the opening half. Chris Johnson was the intended receiver.
And so now we're into the under 2 minute timing where ball out of bounds, the clock will stop like it does before. But remember, Oregon State, no timeouts. They burnt those early because they had some problems with some of their formation. So they're going to have to take advantage of first downs, out of bounds, things like that to stop the clock.
And if you're Stanford, the thing that you've got to watch most of all is don't let number 19 get behind you as he did once earlier in this half. Look over the middle. Got it complete, and that's Morales. Shane, a senior out of Valencia, California. And quickly, Oregon State comes sprinting up to the football, which is at the 40-yard line. It's a gain of 20. Clock is whistled back in. Game clock shows 1:22 and counting. Trying to tie it up to go into the locker room. Quick pass out in the flat. That one a little bit low also to Morales. And it'll stop the game clock with 1:15 to play.
And this is where Moival really needs to take the next step as a quarterback. That not a difficult throw. He struggled sometimes last year when it was the easy throw with some of the deep balls, but he just has to work on his feet, his mechanics, because he just got to be able to make that throw.
You have to wonder if the heat and the sun end of the field didn't bother both teams, because all 27 points have been put up here in the second quarter. Nothing in the first 15.
I know I feel much better.
You feel like scoring, do you? Second down. Moival got it complete. That's a beautiful pitch and catch. He's out of bounds at the Stanford 44, and again it's Morales.
And the difference from Moival, he didn't rush the throw. On the out throw before, he rushed it because he knew he had it. He knew he could get it out of bounds. That time sat in the pocket, kept his balance. His new leaner body, he's got to trust it. That time he looked way more composed than he did on the throw before.
So let's see what the Beavers can come up with here. They still got plenty of time. 71 seconds left in this opening half. They're down by 7. Flag is down. I think the right defensive end was offside. And a gamble on the play as the pass is being knocked away by Osai. But let's see if the right defensive end, I think in his stance he was offside.
Maybe. Boy, that was a really high-risk throw. Late and across the field.
Offside. Defense number 91. Lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty for the previous spot. Replay, first down.
It's Pernell Egbo. You wouldn't expect that from a senior. You know, they try to crowd. Yeah, great young man, too.
Yeah, just really enjoyed visiting with him yesterday, folks. He had to skip his junior year in high school in football. We'll tell you more about it. He made a B, and his father said, nope, you're out of there. You got to make A's. His brother's at Duke. He's at Stanford. What's that tell you about the family?
Yeah, they care about education.
Looked in pass, got a man wide open. That's Catchings, and Catchings is going to take it all the way down to the 20-yard line. We still got 58 seconds left to play. Great clock management by Oregon State.
Absolutely. And now you're in a position, because you're down in the red zone, where a wasted or two down to stop the clock is not necessarily going to hurt you.
17 yards on that pass play to Catchings. Looks near sideline. And Stroud there. What a grab. He was looking for the ball on the other side, spun over, and made the catch and made it legal.
And now here's where you have to be careful. Throws have to be, I think, near the end zone. I don't think you want something. You can still get a first down, but it's going to be right at the goal line. But I don't think you want to mess around. If it's not in the end zone, I think too much clock is going to run off.
Moival steps up, got a man over the middle, throws it complete. They will have a second down at the 4-yard line.
Well, the problem for Oregon State is they have an offensive lineman, Adam Spear, is down, and they have no timeouts.
Listen to the crowd booing. Well, it's a cramp. Thank goodness. It's not an injury to his knee, but you can see him jumping as they try to straighten out those legs. Because as soon as he gets off that ball, he's going to be snapped. 22 seconds showing on the game clock. And Oregon State breaks the huddle and comes quickly back to the line of scrimmage. And they still have not gotten Spear off the field as yet. No time runs off on a play like that. From the 4, over the middle, wide open, touchdown, Oregon State, Shane Morales. And now a flag comes down after the play.
Well, they're going to get Bo McNally for hitting a defensive player, leading with his head. One of the points of emphasis, because Morales had that ball, it was a clear touchdown, and McNally went for the shot anyway. Now, Oregon State will have the choice to go half the distance and maybe go for a two-point conversion.
Touchdown. Dead ball. Personal foul. Defense, number 22.
And Oregon State's not going to take it. They'll take it on the kick. But what a nice drive by Moivat. No timeouts. They started with just over 90 seconds. And he managed the clock perfectly. And you mentioned that there is no time runoff.
The dead ball personal foul will be enforced on the kickoff.
In college football, Adam Spear went down. They have no timeouts, but they don't penalize the offense. They just get ready to run it as soon as the injured player is off the field.
Cahoon to attempt the extra point, trying to tie us up again, this time at 17. Justin, the sophomore out of Portland, Oregon. He got a good pass, and his kick is right down the middle. So 14 seconds showing on the clock. Tied at 17. Well, Gillette presents Kickoff Week on ABC Saturday night. It's the Chick-fil-A College kickoff game featuring Alabama against Clemson in Atlanta. Others will see Michigan State and Cal. Saturday, 8 o'clock Eastern on ABC. Check your local listings for the game in your area. And that's where Ed and myself will be on Saturday, about 45 miles up the road in Berkeley.
We were able to go out to practice the other day.
Yesterday, yeah.
At Cal Stadium. And that's a team, you know, I look at this Pac-10 conference. I know everybody has USC as a heavy favorite. I don't necessarily see it that way. I think Cal, and I think Oregon State, if they can settle in, I think they've got the athletes. I mean, Stanford, give them all the credit in the world. They're playing extremely well. And it's staggering how far this program has come in Jim Harbaugh's second year. And they're competing against a, I think, upper mid-level Pac-10 team opening week of the season. This is impressive.
Yeah, because you get the feeling every time you look at the Rogers brothers, you look at Strouder, and those three are weapons, and there are others. McCants, as you said, and you keep thinking, boy, these kids are capable of scoring a lot of points in a half. Ball is fumbled. It is alive, and it's recovered by Gatewood at the 12-yard line.
Boy. Talk about lumps in your throat. Listen how quiet it got in this building.
Hit his face mask. Went straight forward.
And you know, did a good job of falling on the ball. You see so many times.
Pick it up. You're right.
You know, you do that drill day in and day out. Ball's on the ground. Put your body next to it and scoop it in. Don't try to pick it up and run. If Gatewood tries to pick that up and gets hit, Oregon State gets the ball right there at the 11, gets one or two throws in the end zone, and then field goal try.
And they'll take a knee, and we are going to go to halftime. And just the way we started, we are tied at halftime. Stanford 17 and Oregon State 17. And what started off as a slow first quarter, with neither offense generating very much, and then it exploded in the second. Jack, let's go down to you.
Well, we caught up with the head coach, Jim Harbaugh. Jim, talk to me a little bit about that 90-second drive by the Beavers. What did you see there from your defense that they need to improve on, if anything?
Well, their quarterback made some really good throws. I mean, they got some weapons. You know, we can't give them anything easy. We've allowed them, you know, an easy touchdown pass and an easy drive.
What about the play of Gerhardt so far?
Loving it.
Good luck, Coach.
Thanks, Jack.
Okay, Jack, thanks so much. And right now, let's send you to Scott Reese in the studio for the Olive Garden halftime report. 17 all here in Palo Alto.
All right, Ron, our inaugural Olive Garden halftime report of this college football season, and it is an action-packed 15 minutes and a lot of college football action, including the Battle of Carolina. You got a ranked Wake Forest team in Waco, Texas, taking on Baylor. We'll update you on all the scores and highlights, and a new way to have fun and make you a little smarter. It's our Dr. Lou segment, which premieres, and wait till you hear who his patients are. We're right back.
Well, we are tied at halftime at 17, and for those of you who've been watching all the action in Denver, I guess you could say that literally we had a very nonpartisan first half because we are deadlocked at 17 apiece. You were a little surprised that that the Cardinal did what they did offensively in the first half.
Yeah, they moved the ball very well. I mean, Toby Gerhart averaged over 11 yards a carry, exploded for a couple of runs that just totally caught Oregon State off guard. And for Oregon State, right at the top, Jack Arute told us that the X factor would be Sammy Stroughter. And Stanford very lucky right now that this game is not 24-17. Early on, Stroughter gets open, and Moival just barely misses him. So what do you do when you've got that play? You go back to it. Of course, the safety came down, made a little mistake. This time, Moival, not much more air on that ball, but threw it well. And talk about a streaky first half. Great, not so great, and then unbelievable for Moival. He was 4 of 4, then went 0 for 4, and then he's 8 of his last 10, including 2 touchdowns on that last drive, Ron. 7 for 9. And Jim Harbaugh, it was interesting. When he was talking to Jack on the way out, gave him a great compliment. I mean, look, if he's playing that well, what do we do?
For sure. You see what they missed by his injury last year. That ball is alive and not picked up until the very last moment by Rodgers, and he's going to be stopped at the 24-yard line. Jack Arute, what do you got for us?
Well, I talked to Coach Riley on the way out, and he wanted to talk about Stroughter as well. He said we missed some opportunities with our wideout. We're going to get those back in the second half, specifically in this first series. And, guys, one of the things he told me, he says, you know that 90-second drive, Jack? He said it's something we practiced all fall. It made us all get a good feeling going into the locker room, even though it knotted things up.
Hey, Jack, very quickly, the temperature on the field, it appears, has lessened considerably.
By about 20 degrees, guys. It's comfortable now. Nice California weather.
Okay. Didn't start off that way. We were in the 90s. They were saying 94 to 95 down on the field. Little play action. Throws it. Got a man open over the middle, and the ball is thrown too low. Do you see Stroughter? What's he saying? Get the ball up. I'm open. Get the ball up.
And this is something that Moival, again, he listen, 7 for 9 in a 2-minute drill, really only missed 1 ball. But these are the little progressions he's going to make. Remember, Sean Canfield was the starter at the end of last season, had a torn labrum. He was a left-hander in his left shoulder. He's still not back to 100%. And so Moival got the entire, and there's Gerhart. Yeah, it's that left knee. I mean, that was a terrible injury. But for Moival, got to go through all the way through the spring. He's still learning as a quarterback.
So they scrimmage from the 24. Play action. Waiting. Now flag comes down. That's going to be offensive holding. And the pass thrown away. And then we'll wait and see who he got. Yeah. Lorig was the man applying the pressure. Eric Lorig.
Yeah, well, it was a face mask tackle by Ryan Pohl in the middle. And I tell you, Pernell Egbo.
Offense number 63.
Here's where you start to see.
Penalty will be enforced from the previous spot. Replay, second down.
So first half stats look like this.
Yeah, and you're at 213 and 198. Score 17 all. No turnovers. That's why we have, and both teams were, let's just be honest, not very good on third down.
Third downs were not good, were they?
You know why, Ron? Because they were. It's called behind the sticks. When you pick up 1, 2, and you get a penalty, third 10, third to 15, that's always going to favor. And in that first quarter especially, both these offenses were third and long almost every time.
McCants into the ball game at tailback. The large one on a Corona, but they hand it off on the sweep. This is Rodgers. Breaks by a tackle. Almost broke the second, and he'll be tripped up at the 20. And that was Scafel who got out there. And if Taylor doesn't make the tackle, there's a lot of open green down that far sideline.
And Rodgers was the hero of a couple of games last year. You mentioned that he had that winning touchdown against Oregon. He actually had a couple of touchdowns, and it's that fly sweep, and it was a play that you just saw that they actually got from Willamette University a couple of years ago, but they didn't have a guy to run it. And they went and got Rodgers out of Texas. Said, yeah, he's got the speed to run it.
We got to tell the story of how they got it. A phone call from a friend at an All-Star game. Over the middle, caught. First down, Oregon State. Again, a very nice pitch and catch. Strouder, look how high he goes up to not only secure but protect the ball.
And so important to have a guy like Strouder. And Jack was talking about how Coach Riley said he's all the way back. Well, and Jack said, you know, he's his own self. He's his old self again. Listen, the guy brings an amazing ability on the field, and we'll probably see him return some punts, but he's such a good guy to have on the team because he coaches all the young guys just as such a positive influence.
Ed, that was a third down, 3rd and 13, and they converted. So a very big play for the Beavers. Sweep, 40, out to the 43. That is Rodgers. This is Jaquez who was carrying the ball, little number 1. He and his brother out of Richmond, Texas. Richmond Rosenberg. I think it's Wharton County, just southwest of Houston.
And the way that they got James Rodgers, Jaquez's older brother, was he was getting recruited by nobody. He's a very small guy, very fast. And one of the friends of the offensive coordinator, Danny Langsdorff, called him, had coached the older James in an All-Star game, and said, and this was in January, so you got to come get him. They brought him in 1 week before signing day, and he's been a Beaver ever since.
You see the blitz coming on, and the flag goes down.
Prior to the snap, false start, 88, offense. 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
And let's go down to Jackaroo. Jack?
Well, let's add a postscript to that story about how Oregon State found James Rodgers. The great part in the conversation with Mike Riley is everybody was going to see, as you said, Jaquez. And they came to see James. They signed him. Riley told us, he says, honest, guys, I didn't know he had a brother. Found out quick, didn't he?
Yeah. And talk about quick. He not only found out, he loves what he found out. He's got that community buzzing up there. Short drop, quick pass. This is to the older Rodgers brother, James, and he will take it for a short game. But let's take a look at him in last year's Oregon game in double overtime.
31-31, and again, there's that fly sweep, and it's the blocking on the edge. And Rodgers goes in for the go-ahead touchdown and the win. And then, of course, the Beaver defense, which was amazing, stuffs Oregon on that next possession. And just for good measure, James Rodgers decided, you know, I don't want just one game winner. He had the game-winning touchdown against Maryland and the Emerald Bowl as well.
So the Rodgers brothers trying to put their mark on Oregon State football last year and this year. Quick release again, and the pass is complete to Morales. That one over the middle. Now, are you noticing what I am? Short, quick stop. Step and then get rid of the football.
Yeah, Moival looks so much more comfortable in the pocket. You know, he had that little stretch where he went 0 for 4 after a good start. And, you know, it's worth mentioning, Moival was a junior college transfer. And he came in 2006, and a lot of times a quarterback, when they bring in, you got to play. But remember, they had Matt Moore. So he was able to redshirt, and he was able to get used to the speed of the game on scout team.
One other point about the short, quick throw. You don't put nearly as much pressure on your offensive line, and it's virtually impossible.
It's a playoff, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's and you know who used to do it better than anybody was Leinert at Southern Cal.
Yeah.
Oh, what a move by Jaquez. He just froze the defensive back, and on that second effort, he may have picked up an Oregon State first down.
You know, I was lucky enough when I was at the University of Washington. As a senior, we had a little freshman named Napoleon Kaufman, who went on to be a pretty good little running back. And he was a true freshman and worked into the lineup. And this young man reminds me of Kaufman. where he gets in space. You think he is so much smaller than he is, but you mentioned he's almost 200 pounds.
He's thick. Yeah.
But it's that ability to jump away from people and then accelerate that really makes people look foolish.
If you just joined us, we're tied at 17. All of the scoring came in the second quarter. Virtually the same play, and this time it goes for a 2.5-yard loss. Chris Evans says, "Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice." What is the tagline? Shame on you.
You know, I want to go back for a minute about this recruiting thing. You know, it was interesting because Jack talked about how when the coaches from Oregon State called down to the Rogers Brothers High School, they said, "Oh, you just want to get to Jacquiz." And they said, "No, we want James." And I think that really endeared them to that staff, to the Rogers family. And that's why Jacquiz said, "They were on me early. They helped out my brother." Even though every big school in the Big 12 South came after him, he was honest and said, "I want to play for these guys. They were good to my brother. They were good to my family."
Second down and 12. Another quick throw behind the line of scrimmage, so they're blocking in front. And there's the older. It's James Rogers' second effort. 1st and 10 Beavers. And look who is out front blocking. Strouder may be the money guy when you can hit the home run, but watch what happens when he blocks.
It's just such a nice, and they've run this play over and over and over again. The only way that you're going to stop this is you're going to have to start bringing. You saw the guy who was stationed behind Chris Evans. He's going to have to get closer to the line of scrimmage. Now the problem is they will fake that throw, and they'll have Strouder fake block, and then he'll take off, and now nobody's home.
14 yards in the pass play. It's a first down for Oregon State, and they hand it off in the sweep, and it's Strouder. And a nice defensive play coming off the wing is number 22, Bo McNally. And Bo is really up to the task, and if he hadn't been, could have been another big gainer right there for the Beavers.
Yeah, McNally, a guy that they have to watch very closely. Both him and Clinton Snyder have a tendency to dehydrate, and we were talking about the heat earlier. As much as McNally is having to run and Snyder's having to run and chase these little number 19, number 1, and number 8, they're going to have to make sure when they get to the sideline they're hydrating themselves.
Well, we're now under 9 minutes to play, third quarter, as Oregon State with a really good-looking drive. And they hand it off straight ahead. Jacquiz spins by a tackle. A flag comes down, and I think we're going to have a personal foul on Stanford for a late hit on the quarterback added on to the distance of the run.
And honestly, at this point, I think that Pat Maynor should be ejected from this game. The ball had been handed off, and he continued and went helmet to helmet, lowered his head. With the new rule where they are enforcing this more often, I think that this should be an ejection.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Offside, defense number 80. Personal foul, defense number 44. The offside penalty will be declined. The personal foul penalty will be accepted 15 yards from the end of the run. Half the distance from the end of the run.
You know, there's been they're really trying to crack down on hitting defenseless players. That's not only crown of the helmet, but Moival is completely defenseless. Look, if you think the man still has the ball,
and you see what the coach is saying, kick him out.
Yeah.
And you know what?
I agree.
I agree with Coach Roddy because just what Ed is saying, there are a number of points of emphasis that they are concerned with, and that's one of them right there. Plays over. We're going to have a new quarterback in the ball game as Engstrom will check in, and Moival will get a check on him as he is over on the sideline. That was a heck of a lick that he took. But the point is, when a guy's out of the play and literally is helpless, and you take him out, anybody can do that.
Yep.
They keep it on the ground, and Jacquiz will take it straight ahead inside the 10 down to around the 8-yard line.
The point I was going to make is what defensive coaches are going to have to teach, because what Maynor is doing, he's afraid Moival, who comes back into the game and gets a nice round of applause from the Oregon State faithful who came south for the game. But look, you still make the play, but just go up and wrap the guy up. If you think he still has the ball, just go put your chest on him, wrap him up. Don't lower your head. Don't hit a defenseless player, because it's going to get called.
He's very lucky that he did not get ejected from the ball game, because officials in every league were discussing new philosophies, and that's one of them right there that they're supposed to really crack down on. Jones to the sideline, gets knocked out of bounds hard. Osai is out there, and he ends the run at around the 7-yard line.
Boy, and Oregon State coming in and eating some clock. This is a dominant drive, and you know, Mike Riley said to Jack Arute after halftime the confidence that it gave them to go on that 2-minute drive, and it showed up on this drive. This is impressive stuff. Now 3rd and 5. You got 3 receivers. Look for a pick down here to the left, possible.
7.5 minutes on the drive. They need to take it. Deep in the pocket, throws it over the middle, throws behind the receiver, incomplete. So it'll be a 4th down, and this is the most disappointing part of the drive because you're going to wind up with very close to an 8-minute drive, but it to me would be disappointed to come away with only 3 the way they have possessed the ball and driven it all the way down the field.
And if you're Stanford, you think this is a break for us. You have to take this as a little momentum.
Cahoot to attempt the field goal. They'll place it down at the 13-yard line, so a 23-yard attempt, and he's got it. So Oregon State goes on top. 7:35 left in the 3rd quarter. 20-17. We'll be right back. So we are back, and it's 20-17. Oregon State leading to the ball game, and in the first half, 30 plays on 6 possessions. And they had 15 plays on that opening possession of the second half. That is indeed impressive.
But you made a good point, Ron, that the field goal almost feels like you came up short.
Maybe a little empty.
Yeah, exactly. And now I think the key for Stanford, because right now, look, they ended the half, they had a minute 30, and Oregon State went right down the field, made it look easy. They come back out, they go right down the field, have a great drive. But they're only down 3. Stay calm. I think you still pound Kimball, and Oregon State has not been able to stop Gerhard. I would just turn and feed those guys. Don't feel like you're that far behind, because you're not.
Yeah, you're right. But the defense of the Beavers has to be smiling and saying thank you to the offense. And it's incumbent upon Stanford to pick up a first down or 2. Almost broke it big. That's Gatewood as he found a hole over on the left. And Gerhard, talk about a big first half.
Well, the last time Stanford saw this young man play in a game, it was against San Jose State. He ran for 141 yards, averaged over 11 yards per carry in that game, but then shredded his left knee in the 4th quarter. Well, guess what? He's at it again. Right now, he's got 90 yards on 8 carries. So again, over 11 yards per carry. And not surprised, Ron? Guess who starts the second half at tailback for Stanford?
Well, as head coach said it as he went off the field when he talked to Jack. Straight ahead with a handoff, and I'll tell you, he was within a breath of breaking that one. He wound up going backwards, and he fell for 11 yards on the play. That's what he's been averaging tonight.
I tell you, he's so big. Reminds me a bit of a guy I played against in college from here at Stanford, Tommy Vardell, where they're so big and muscular that you think there's no way they're that fast, but once they get going, it's really disconcerting to the defense because they don't expect that much acceleration from a 230-pounder.
I told you we were visiting at halftime. Craig James. Now, Craig was not this heavy, and maybe a step faster. Oh, this kid is very quick, but ran the same way where he ran away from people. You could take bad pursuit angles on him.
And guess who's leading the way for Gerhard?
Yeah.
It's the do-right guy, Owen Marisa.
Folks, you cannot believe how the head coach went on about him. I'm telling you what, it was like a blue-eyed blonde daughter that he talked so affectionately about. He just really likes this young man's effort and also what he demonstrates to his teammates every day.
And one of the problems, we just showed the last rusher for over 1,000 yards here on the farm was in 1991. He's going to have to split some carries because Kimball's pretty good too now.
Trying to turn the corner with Kimball. And Kimball's very close to the first down. Let's see what he's spotting out as Brandon Hughes was over there to force the play defensively. Maurice, let's watch him. It looks as though he got to help him get the first down.
And, you know, it's funny because he works so hard, boy. Well, I didn't quite get him all the way down, but you know what he did was a nice job.
Yeah,
is he kept his feet moving. But, you know, Coach Harbaugh made a good point. He said the guy works so hard sometimes, Marisic, that you forget he is very talented. You know, sometimes we think that guys who work hard aren't talented, but Marisic is both.
Beat drop this time. Going to go long. Got a man. And the ball is overthrown. And I'll tell you, it's like Baldwin lost contact with where the ball was. And a flag is down back behind the line of scrimmage.
And I think they're going to get holding.
Holding, offense number 72. 10-yard penalty for the previous spot. Replay, first down.
Chase Beeler.
2 times, yep. And again, this is a change in the lineup because Beeler, who was a backup center, has to move over to that left guard spot. Gustav Reidstedt, who had to play some defense last year, was supposed to be starting at that left guard spot, but suffered a concussion. And so, you know, the first game for a lot of guys who go into a new position. And let's not forget that Oregon State, even though they lost a lot of guys off a great defense last year, they still have some really talented physical guys in the middle. So giving Stanford everything they can handle in the middle of their offensive line.
5:53 left to play, third quarter. Oregon State by 3, 20-17. Short drop this time, and got it complete to his tight end, Gunder. But Gillette presents Kickoff Week at ABC Saturday night. It's the Chick-fil-A College kickoff game featuring Alabama and Clemson in Atlanta. Others are going to see Michigan State taking on California Saturday, 8 o'clock Eastern on ABC. Be sure and check your local listings.
You know, I know a lot of people in the country like Clemson, and I think this is Tommy Bowden's best team. But I look at their offensive line, and they got a lot of guys to replace, and I think Alabama's going to give them everything they can handle tomorrow night or Saturday night.
Going to go deep, and he overthrows what turned out to be a wide open Doug Baldwin. And that's one of those things where you say, hey, my bad, I'd love to have it back.
Well, and the pocket has been collapsing around Pritchard, and I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. He had suffered a concussion last year against Notre Dame towards the end of the season. Didn't play as much against Cal as he had hoped. I think he's getting a little happy feet in that pocket. You know, Oregon State got a lot of pressure early, and that time a stunt up front put pressure around Pritchard, and he's not setting his feet. He's kind of moving around and getting a little unsettled in that pocket.
Well, they're going to have to call a timeout because the play clock was all the way down to 4. And the lineup that they had in the ball game was going to be Kimball and Gerhardt, which I don't think we've seen tonight. Talk more about it in just a moment. 3-point lead, Beavers.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Nissan, passionate about performance and proud sponsor of the Heisman Trophy. And Applebee's, it's a whole new neighborhood.
Well, Tiger Woods, of course, attended Stanford University. And I was really fortunate back in the earlier days when Tiger was out here on the farm. ESPN used to televise the NCAA golf championships. And I got to do it 3 straight years when he was playing for a great Stanford team. And to get to see him in person then as still an amateur, there was no question how good he was. As Gerhardt is off and running again, he'll take it down. How about that? 3rd down and 15, and they give it to Gerhardt, and he's going to pick up the first down, plus more than a little. And I have a feeling that Coach Riley on the sideline is not real excited about that.
And not a play that Stanford showed last year. So Oregon State gets caught off guard. That's that real famous now play in college football, the zone read, where the quarterback reads that defensive end and either hands it to the running back or keeps it himself. And again, Gerhardt showing good speed to the corner. 3rd and 15 is kind of amazing. You're going to run that play, but they got it.
Gunter in motion. Here comes pressure. Going to run out of harm's way. Pritchard goes down wisely inside the 30 and around the 28. Keith Pankey defensively for Oregon State. Yeah, that's one that the defensive staff will look at, particularly their defensive coordinator, Mark Banker. And say, guys, you can't give up a 15-yard play on a 3rd and 15 to a running play.
Yep. And that's a play that zone read that we're seeing everywhere. I mean, I think it really came onto the map the national championship year with Vince Young in Texas. I mean, a lot of teams were running it, but that's when the entire country saw it. It is so hard to defend. That backside end has to be so disciplined and stay in his lane.
Kimball gets bounced out of bounds at around the 26-yard line. Tuimane is the man who makes the stop.
And give a lot of credit right now to Stanford offensively. Look, things could have started getting out of hand. Oregon State comes out, goes 7.5 minutes, 15 plays. If Stanford comes out and doesn't have a drive and puts their defense back on the field, because not a lot of depth.
Yeah,
for
that was the comment that I made. You know, they need to pick up 2 or 3. But right now, it's like you don't tailgate a tailgater where they're doing just that. They got a lengthy drive going here. Pressure coming from the middle. Pass dumped on is dropped over the middle. That's Doug Baldwin. A good hit put on him, but a pass that he probably should have caught as Tim Clark makes a bang on him.
And right now, they're going to go for this kick. And, you know, Ron, look, you're at the 26. You do have to make that catch. But, you know, we saw the kicker earlier, Zachary, miss from 49. And here you are at 43. I think you may want to go for this one.
McNally is the holder. It's going to be a 43-yard attempt from the far hash mark. Good pass. Plenty of distance. And he's good.
Like I said, you kick it.
Officially, they're going to say 42 yards. So at the 3:42 mark of the third quarter, we are tied again. 20 apiece, Oregon State and Stanford. We'll be right back. So we are back. 2 long drives to open the second half. Both result in long field goals. And now a new addition. After the kickoff, I'll just give you a hint. We call it the gridiron glossary. Don't dare go to the refrigerator or any other place. Goalie prepares to check it up. The gridiron glossary. Here comes the kick. It's a high spinner to Rogers. James Rogers. 20. Flag comes down, and Rogers is going to be stopped at around the 30. We will get the report on the flag, and then we'll give you our first installment of the Gridiron Glossary.
And the whole idea behind this is, you know, a lot of times we start talking football jargon, and you start saying zone read. Well, there's some people who know exactly what that means.
Number 1 of the return team. Penalty being enforced from the spot of the foul. First down.
And here is a zone read. You can see the running back Gerhardt right next to the quarterback Pritchard. And right when the reason it's an option is because Pritchard is reading this side of the defensive line, and he sees them coming up, so he hands off to Gerhardt, who now it's a true option. He has a good lane on that side. The quarterback. The reason it's called a read option, zone read option, zone blocking to the right. The offensive line is going that way. Quarterback's reading the play side, which is on that side, the right side. And the reason he hands off is there was 2 guys ready to make the tackle if he had kept the ball.
Pressure coming, and the tackle is made. Sacked at the 8-yard line, and a flag is down. That's Maynard.
And an offensive lineman for Oregon State, I believe, got tangled up and is down on the 5-yard line.
Yeah, that's Levitri.
Wow, and they cannot
He's their
lose.
best.
Yeah, they
He's
cannot
their best
lose.
one.
They cannot lose Levitri.
Offense number 66. That penalty will be declined. Second down.
Levitri is the left tackle. You're already missing on that side, and yeah, that is an absolute hold takedown on Maynard. But he got caught up. His leg got caught up when they spun around, when those bodies spun around. And remember, you're already missing Jeremy Perry, the All-American left guard who had knee surgery and is not quite back ready to play. And now you're going to lose your most experienced tackle still there. And also, Levitri, well, I guess Wealth manager's not a bad job. Of course, he probably wants to make some wealth in the NFL before he becomes a wealth manager.
Yeah, I think he'll probably get that opportunity. Feet is what he is called. And you're hoping that maybe, just maybe, that's a cramp rather than, a twist on that knee or ankle.
But now, if you're Oregon State, you have to realize that you are down. Wilder McAndrews, a freshman, comes in at left tackle. Don't do any deep drops. Listen, Stanford has plenty of speed on the outside. Maynor, Egbo, those guys can really get up the field. So keep the drops for your quarterback short so the defensive end has to run all the way around to get to him, doesn't have a straight shot at him.
Second down, it's called at 16. Blitz coming off the corner to the open side. That's where they threw the ball. And I'll tell you, you better go after that one because if the whistle didn't blow,
it was a backwards pass.
That was a backwards pass. That's exactly right. That is his safety. It went out to the sideline and it hit the cone or went just inside of it.
Well, and Moyval saw this blitz coming, knew they weren't going to pick it up. Well, I think they'll review that, but that looked, if not exactly parallel, maybe a hair backwards. They're going, I think they'll absolutely review this. Let's take a look. Let's see what yard line Moyval, where his arm is. It's on about the between just inside the 2-yard line, and let's see where it lands. And it was touched by McCants. I think that was a backwards pass. And McCants got his hand up there for a split second. No, he sure didn't. No, that's a backwards pass. Yeah, that ball landed just outside the 1, and I think it was thrown just inside the 2. I believe they call that the safety dance.
No, well, it used to be the saber dance. It's the safety dance here on the farm. Because they just picked up 2 points to go on top, 22-20 at the 3:07 mark. And now the free kick coming way back at the 20-yard line by Oregon State.
And who knew that Jim Harbaugh was a Men Without Hats fan doing the safety dance?
And you know what? With the defense that had been called, they complete that pass right there, he might still be running. He might have been calling a touchdown.
Well, and Moyval just rushed the throw. Yeah, he got a little nervous, and McCants was just getting his head around. But you're right, because they blitzed, nobody was there.
Here's the kick. This is a nice one also. Back to the 15-yard line. Gatewood tries to get to the open side of the field. Running, will not make it, and he is taken down at the 35-yard line. Boy, that is Cameron Collins, a redshirt freshman out of Santa Monica, who did a really nice job to stop him.
And a key, Collins again went up and reached inside the shoulder pads. And if he pulls down immediately, it is now a penalty. The horse collar tackle is illegal, but because he grabbed it and then rode the running back down, they're not going to call it. That is a new rule, but that was correctly not thrown.
And remember one other thing on that tackle. If it's inside the box on a running back or a quarterback, it is not a horse collar. It's in the open field when that occurs that way. Well, the stop is made, and now here comes a late flag in.
Face mask, defense. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run, first down.
We need to go back over this. We talked about it earlier. There's no longer the 5-yard incidental face mask. Yeah. It's only a personal foul where the head gets turned when the defender grabs it. I like this rule. I'm glad that we got rid of that incidental face mask.
Well, it was grabbed in the middle, and he held on to it, so 15 yards applied, and it takes them across midfield, and they have it at the 48.5-yard line of the Beavers. 2:34 left to play third quarter. Pitch to Kimball. And nice defense, Oregon State. Right now, it's time for SportsCenter. Right now, let's go back to Scott Reese.
Okay, Ron, Adam Jones fully reinstated from his 17-month NFL suspension, which followed an accumulation of arrests and legal problems. He is clear to play for the Dallas Cowboys during the regular season. Cubs and Phillies beginning a 4-game series. Aramis Ramirez playing the role of hero with this grand slam. Cubbies win 6-4. SportsCenter after NC State, South Carolina, ESPN. Stay current with ESPN News. Ron?
All right, Scott, we've got 1:53 left to play in our third quarter. Stanford by way of that safety, leading by a couple. Pressure's on. This is a good job defensively. He's going to have to throw that one away. And that was Victor Butler. How many times have we talked about Victor tonight? I think he's going to sleep well as he heads back home to campus, but he has really been a thorn in their side, hasn't he?
And as a surprise to his father, Elvester Strong, he put on the back of his jersey tonight, Strong Butler. And he has been a very strong Butler. So even if his dad's last name wasn't Strong, it would have fit this evening. And here's a guy last year, 10.5 sacks in spot duty. He was a third down specialist, now having to do it every down with some graduations in front of him.
Third down, they need to take it to the 37.5. And straight ahead on the carry, guess who? Mr. Third Down. And again, on a running play that is more than 5 yards, he picks up a crucial first down.
Once again, exact same play, that zone read option that they ran on the 3rd and 15. And this time, a good job by Gerhardt. You know what I like about him, Ron? When he sees it, he goes. He doesn't chatter his steps when he gets around the line of scrimmage. And now you get Kimball and him in the backfield. This is tough duty.
I tell you, I also applaud their coaches. 33 rushes, 15 passes. And when you've got a horse that is running the way this guy is, and you throw Kimball in there as well, keep going to the well.
Yep. Well, and I think that Stanford is now starting to wear out Oregon State up front. We've talked about how that's the only way to slow down through a shoe.
Yeah, through a shoe. So he's going back to get reshot on the sidelines. 50 seconds showing in the third quarter.
And for Stanford, continue going to that well. Kimball, Gerhardt, get Gerhardt's shoe back on, get him back in.
Fleener in motion. Little play action. Looking down the far sideline. Fleener is there and couldn't hold it, and 2 pass interference flags go down. Pankey was the man trying to defend. You heard me say that Fleener was going in motion, and he just circled on around.
Yeah, and Fleener's that guy that, you know, when we were talking to the coaching staff, Jim Harbaugh said, we're going to use this young man, even though he's listed as a tight end. He's kind of a hybrid between a wide receiver and a tight end.
Defense, number 35. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
And it becomes a mismatch. There goes
Fleener has just gone right behind.
Yep. They cleared it out, and they let Fleener go. And then you get Pankey, who, even though he's a fast linebacker, he's still a linebacker. And you've got a guy who can run.
That is as clean a pick as you could, because the wide receiver Whalen just takes his man inside, and the zone is left totally open. So it's a first down. The new line of scrimmage is the 16, and Gerhardt is back in the lineup. They give him the football, and whoa, Oregon State says not this time. You can see Christic, number 32, getting up off the stack and saying, not this time. You're not going to get us.
And as we get towards the end of the third quarter, in what started to feel like everything was starting to go Oregon State's way, at the end of the half, you had the minute 30 drive where they went right down the field, and then Oregon State came out with 7.5 minutes. Stanford has answered very well.
They have, but here's the difference in the ball game as we go to the fourth quarter. A backwards pass that goes in and out of the end zone. Safety. 2-point lead, Stanford. So as you look at those highlights in that last play, you see Jim Harbaugh coming racing down the sideline saying that's a safety, that's a safety, on the strangest of plays that we have seen, and probably as strange as we'll have the entire weekend. That gives them a lead. Pass right over the middle, a bigger lead. Kimball on what literally was just a dump pass 2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage.
Well, and right now, Jim Harbaugh is sending out his PAT unit, and I think they should consider. I'm not a big fan of going for 2 because I always think you chase it, but you could consider that here. I think 1 is the call because you don't chase it, but you could consider here sitting at 28-20 going for 2. But I think this is the right decision.
Zachary to attempt the extra point, trying to make it a 9-point Stanford lead. And he got it. So with 14:55 left to play in our ball game, it's 29-20, and we'll hold it right here in Palo Alto, California.
Well, Jack Arute did the story earlier about the money-back guarantee for tickets. I don't think many people are going to be lined up at the ticket office to get their money back for the next home game. I think they're going to be lined up to buy tickets and come see what Jim Harbaugh and this Stanford Cardinal team plays like. I mean, this is...
I agree with you. However, this ball club on the other side, I don't think 9 points is anything.
No, not with 14:55. Absolutely.
But, you know, I understand where you're coming from because not a lot of people gave Stanford much of a chance to win any ball game, whether it was home or away. And, you know, we might explain a little bit more about the fact that number I gave out a while ago, 5 and 7 with, you know, the 5 home games only and 7 on the road, which is rare. When some clubs, you look around, some universities
7 or 8.
7 or 8.
Yeah. And what happened was they go on the road to TCU in what was a home-and-home series. And a couple of years ago, TCU called and said, hey, can we change a date because we got an offer to play Texas. So last year, Stanford ended up playing 8 home games. This year, only 5, which, you know, hurts you when you're trying to build a program. But next year, they'll go back. And for the next 3 years, they're scheduled to have 7 home games and 5 away, which is about normal for a FBS team in one of the Big 6 conferences.
Gully to kick it off. And this one is not quite as deep. Going to be taken at the 8, and this is Rogers. And Rogers, nice hustle on the special teams at his feet, taken right out from under him by Catron. Well, last season, Stanford and #1 USC. Stanford's quarterback, Tavita Pritchard, hits Richard Sherman on a 4th and 20. And then Pritchard threw the game-winning touchdown. This is Mark Bradford on 4th and goal. Bo McAnally intercepted John David Booty, and this seals it for the Cardinal, 24-23.
And what was the biggest point spread upset of all time in college football at 40.5? Remember, Tavita Pritchard had attempted 3 passes in his entire career before that game first start. TC Ostrander, the supposed starter, had a seizure the Sunday before the game and couldn't go.
Out in the flat, got that one complete to Morales. That's a combination that late in the second quarter worked very often for him and did a nice job for them to help with a long drive. He's a senior out of Valencia, California.
And right now is the time where you want to see the same type of answer you saw from Oregon State at the end of the half. If Movea can settle in, they continue to go to Straughter on the outside in some of those screens. They can move this ball very easily.
Worst thing they could do is they don't need to get in a hurry. They may be down by 9 points, but still, we've got over 14 minutes left to play. Ball dropped. Wow. Straughter couldn't hold on. Jack Arute, what do you got?
Guys, you were wondering about Andy Levitre. They took him directly to the locker room, not because they were concerned about his knees, but because they were concerned about the cramping. You guys were absolutely spot on. So what they're doing is they're filling him full of fluids intravenously. They hope to get him back, and as you guys said, they need him.
Yeah, that's great hustle there, Jack, to get that report to us. And I'm glad to hear it. Not that he's got cramps, but I'm much gladder, more happy to hear that it's that rather than, as I said, a twist of that knee. Really good football play. 3rd down. They need to take it to the 32. Pass in the flat. It is caught. Going to be a first down plus a bunch. And who was I talking about just a moment ago? Morales. That seems to be a comfortable combination for the quarterback.
And he's the guy, Morales, that when we were talking to Mike Riley, you know, everybody's talked so much about James Rogers, the sophomore, in that slot receiver position. Oregon State going to speed up a little bit because, remember, out of bounds, the play clock starts when it's set for play. I like this by Oregon State. This is a nice job with the new rule.
Shotgun formation. Got it out in the flat. Dangerous throw, but again, it's Morales. Breaks a tackle, and right now, it is the Shane Morales show with a really good second effort again.
And to finish that thought, everyone, and Mike Riley said everyone's forgotten that, okay, yeah, Rogers is the guy we put at slot to run the sweeps and things like that, but Morales is the guy who really understands that position as a receiver. He understands where he needs to be against coverage.
You remember what Coach Riley said also? He's a great seam runner. Good protection. Look in. There's Morales again. What's that? 4 straight plays, 4 straight catches by him.
You cannot overstate how important that a slot receiver is. The receiver that's lined up. If there's 2 receivers to one side, he's the receiver to the inside. Because if he knows where to sit down, where the coverage is not, it's a very easy throw for the quarterback. It's right in front of him.
We'll have to do the glossary again. What is sitting down? You got to explain it. We'll get it after this play. Quick throw, going to be overthrown. Go ahead.
So when a receiver comes off the line of scrimmage like Morales in the seam, the linebackers are always going to be late coming from that middle because they have to look at the run. If he goes too far, he gets into where the safety is. So he needs to find that spot where the linebacker can't get there fast enough, and neither can the safety. So he finds what's called the soft spot and literally stops. And they just call it. He doesn't. If he physically sat down, they'd probably not play him, but they just term it sitting down.
I know what it is, but I'm just trying to lead you on, so you will explain it to us. 13:24 left in our ball game. 9 points, Stanford lead. 2nd and 10, Oregon State. Beavers showing they still got a lot of life left. And here's a draw play. Big opening for Rogers and Quiz close to the first down at the 37.5-yard line. One other thing to mention about Jacquizz Rogers is what the upperclassmen have said about him. They've got a world of respect for the young guy because he's gotten a lot of headlines. He's gotten a lot of attention, but they say he's quiet. His work ethic is great, and he doesn't walk around like, hey, I'm more important than probably I should be.
And watching him tonight, he's still got a little bit to go to learn the college speed. It still looks like he's just hesitating just slightly. It doesn't quite feel like he has. And let's remember, first game at the college level in conference, pretty good competition.
Right over the middle, got that pass complete, and it's going to be good for about 4 yards to Straughter. And now it's just pick, pick, pick. And this is tough as far as Stanford because they're right back at the line of scrimmage, no huddle.
And I think this is the absolute, listen, they don't really need to be in the hurry up. 9 points down, 12.5 left, but they know they've got Stanford on the ropes with this drill.
It's like body punches.
Yep.
Got him open. Almost broke the tackle, and Straughter is going to have the first down inside the 25. Jackaroo.
We were talking about Straughter and Sammy, the importance and the fact that he suffered through that clinical depression. It was confusing to an awful lot of his friends, his family, and his coaches. As I said at the beginning of the show, he lost 2 of his family members to death, and then when he thought he had recovered a little bit, he lost the coach that had recruited him. Coach Gilstrap passed away from a complication from stomach cancer, and it sent him spinning again. It's good to see him back smiling and playing hard, guys.
Yeah, you're right. And he is fun to watch. Ball is tipped, and it's intercepted at the 10-yard line. That's Chris Evans. And Evans will take it back out to around the 25-yard line. And I think Tom McAndrew is the man who got the tip. He plays both ways.
Yeah, they had McAndrew playing some tight end. They needed him back at defensive end. And right when Oregon State looked like they were going to go down the field, a great tip by McAndrew, picked off, and the momentum goes right back to Stanford.
So no commercial taken, and on the running play, a little pushing and shoving as it's being pushed back. We'll say it's a loss of 1 on the snap as Isaiah Cook came up to make the tackle. Boy, a tough situation. But number 80 or number 41, Tom McAndrew, who they talked about with us that he would play both ways, and one of the things he was supposed to be very good at is against the pass.
Well, you know, you play tight end, you start to learn about those throwing lanes and what the quarterback's looking at. If you're not getting somewhere, find that lane and get in the middle of it, and that's exactly what he did.
Boy, put an asterisk by that one, huh? Gerhardt, a lot of pursuit this time by the Beavers. He's going to be shoved out of bounds, and that's another loss by Stanford. It's going to be 3rd down and very long.
And here is a key to the rule change. Now, the game clock, even though Gerhardt went out of bounds, continues to roll. They don't stop the clock, and so this allows even they may have ruled full progress, but even Gerhardt, if he would have gone out, they would have started it once they spotted the ball. And when you're up 9, 10:45 left in the 4th quarter, that starts to be advantage offense.
So let's see what the Cardinal can come up with. They got a 3rd down and need to take it all the way out to the 34-yard line. Little play action, pressure on the quarterback. Pritchard breaks contain and is going to be tackled as he goes up the sideline at the 27-yard line.
So that looked to me like a possible horse collar.
Dennis Christopher is the man who made the tackle. So they're going to punt it away on the left footer. Sends a high-hanging spiral all the way back to the 26-yard line.
Great job by Oregon State defense on the quick change.
So we'll take a timeout. 29-20, Stanford. So 10:18 left to play in our ball game, and it's 29-20. The Stanford Cardinal leading this one. And a game we thought would be close, and I think as we come down the wire, it's going to be close.
Well, the key for Moival, that interception was tipped. You know, a lot of people say, oh, he's 5'11". Yeah, he may get a few more balls tipped, but that's just going to happen through the course of a game, through the course of a season. He's got to flush that away.
Rogers and a tailback. That's Jacquez. And they hand it off to him. Tries to bounce it outside and nothing doing. Well, the Cardinal defense doing a really good job. McAnally led the charge. Ron Franklin, Ed Cunningham, Jack Arute coming to you from the refurbished Stanford Stadium. This place is absolutely beautiful. We didn't have a capacity house tonight of 50,000, but some of the biggest plays in this game, a backwards pass, it goes out of bounds for a safety. That ball tipped, and that ended what looked like was going to be a scoring drive for the Beavers just a moment ago. Pass there, overthrown.
And that was good pressure by Eric Lorig, because if Moival has a little more time, wide open over the middle for at least 15, 20-yard gain. And now, quickly, Oregon State gets the 3rd and long. And you know that Stanford has not blitzed a whole lot tonight, Ron. It was something that they lived on last year. They were 2nd in the Pac-10 in sacks. We have not seen much of it. Wouldn't be surprised here if you see some pressure. A lot of bodies moving around the line of scrimmage right now.
3rd down, they got to take it out to the 37-yard line if they want to keep this drive going. Throws it, intercepted at the 22. That's McAnally down the sideline, and pick 6. Bo McAnally.
Moival made a mistake. He thought he saw an all-out blitz, but it was not an all-out blitz. And McNally, the safety, is in zone, so he's not covering anyone. He can read the eyes the whole way, and Moival didn't know he was there, Rob, because he thought it was man coverage with a blitz. It was not.
Extra point attempt coming up. You talk about a big one as timeout has been called by Stanford. 34 yards on the pick and return for a touchdown.
Well, that was just beautifully played by McNally, the safety. But they had all those bodies up around the line of scrimmage, and what looked like a blitz was not. They actually only rushed 4. People backed out. And you'll see McNally right there, who's able to just squat. He's just sitting there reading the eyes of the quarterback because there was no receiver on his side except for Straughter, and he knew that Evans, the cornerback, was going to be over the top so he could go underneath of it. That was a great call by the defensive staff.
He's the holder. Great hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't see many defensive backs as the holder on PATs.
Unless they're former quarterbacks.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. There he is, gets the touchdown, and now he gets the hold for the PAT.
Yeah, you betcha.
Now you can't mess this one up.
Pounding away. He's still got a smile on his face.
You got to breathe.
Wipe it off there, both. I don't blame you, young man. That's a great play. Extra point attempt is up and right down the middle, and all of a sudden, Stanford Cardinal beginning to walk with this one, leading by 16. We'll be right back. Well, Stanford athletics, you continue to get a look at some of the prowess and how well so many teams have done here. As Bo McAnally, 5 tackles, 34-yard interception return. Here are the last 3 possessions, the final play. Safety on that backward pass, an interception, and an interception for a touchdown. Rodgers breaks it free and is finally going to be tackled. James stopped at the 49 by the kicker, Golia.
Well, and everyone around here, well, everyone around college football remembers that USC victory. And, of course, so much is given to the offense for what they did. But let's not forget that the game ended with USC driving and looking like they may get into field goal range when Bo McNally picked off John David Booty, the 4th interception for the interception. So,
listen, I'm happy to report number 66, Andy Levitri, back in the ball game at left tackle for the Beavers. It was cramps and nothing serious as Jacquez gets knocked down hard after a gain of about 4 yards. Masafilo is the man who got there first.
Well, and now Oregon State has no choice. You know, they went to that hurry up, and Levitre's a big deal to have back in there. Before he came back in, they had 2 freshmen at tackle. And right now, Moivau needs as much help as he can get up front, especially at left tackle.
Pass right over the middle, and he drills that one complete to Morales. Jack Arute will check with you again.
Yeah, Ron, let me give you a couple of quick Stanford injury updates. Corey Gatewood has been taken to the locker room. They're x-raying him to see a possible fractured tibia. And what about our buddy Marisic? Well, he is going to be out on the offense. They've taken his helmet away. Suspected concussion.
Wow.
Yeah, you get that a lot. You know, a fullback who likes to stick his nose in there, he's going to get a few of those.
Well, that ball is incomplete, but that pass was obviously thrown in front, not a backwards pass, as that safety a moment ago. But you could hear the crowd gasp, wondering if maybe so. Jacquez simply could not hold on to that one.
Thinking.
Yeah.
and we should point out, you know, we've been talking a lot about the new rules. The only change about the clock going is when the ball goes out of bounds. It still stops in incomplete passes. They still stop it on first down to get the chain set. All of that's still the same. The only real change to get the clock going was before 2 minutes in each half, left in each half, they run it when the ball carrier or the ball is fumbled out of bounds.
Moivau looking deep over the middle, got a person there, and we got 2 flags coming in as contact was made and Straughter was knocked down. So it's going to be a pass interference against the Cardinal. And in a very short order here after this 15-yard penalty, they're going to be in really fine position to go into the end zone. So with a 16-point lead means nothing with 8:38 left in this ball game.
Of course, with 2-point conversions, you'd be going 6-2. For sure, if you got in the end zone here.
Defense, number 6, 15-yard penalty from the previous first down.
And the one thing we have not seen, Ron, in a couple of series for Oregon State is those little screens they were running earlier to Rodgers. And I think they need to go back to that. I mean, Moivau's done fairly well throwing down the field.
Look at half by half his numbers.
Yeah.
172 in the first half, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And in the second half, 83 yards and no touchdowns and a couple of picks.
Of course, one of those was tipped, but the other one,
yeah,
he didn't see the safety and went for a touchdown.
Yep. Pressure coming from the outside. Ball almost picked off again, and it's a diving Bo McAnally who was closest to it.
Yeah, I think Oregon State needs to go back, and especially now that you're at 2nd and 10, you're down in the red zone, get James or Jacquizz Rodgers the ball quickly out in space. Let Straughter block for me so good you don't have to have all of these throws down the field.
Well, that one they were going for a good seam route with Reese, and he was breaking open. Second down and 10 from the 18-yard line. Well, there's a quick screen, and the ball is knocked down and almost picked off.
Yeah, they were trying to get that one to Straughter. They had Morales over there who was going to be blocking for Straughter. So right idea, but a good adjustment by Stanford. Remember, they have one of the most experienced defensive coordinators in the country now in Ron Lynn, who spent 11 years as a coordinator at the NFL level. First year back in college, was retired. And you see the adjustment he made. Now when they see that potential screen, they're much closer to the line of scrimmage to be able to blow it up.
He's got the true freshman, Michael Thomas, who's out of Houston Nimitz High School. In the ball game, he's a nickelback. Third down, they need to take it all the way to the 8. Ball is fumbled on the ground and is still being scrambled for it. I believe Stanford has recovered at the 28-yard line. Lorig, Eric Lorig, I think, is the man who got on the football.
Well, and what we were talking about earlier about just pick the ball up, your freshman from Houston, Michael Thomas, decided he wanted to be a hero. And I'm sure in films tomorrow they're going to be saying, and they call him MT3. Michael, we're going to take your nickname away from you unless you fall on that ball and get us possession. Yeah, that was a freshman mistake. You don't have to be a hero. You're up 36-20. If you recover this, if you just fall on it, boy, and that was a nice hustle play there by John Reese, the tight end, to knock it loose. But you'll tell that young freshman, look, we're up 36-20. If you recover this, game's probably over the way we've been running it.
So Oregon State has the football, and as you said, because of a good hustle play by Reese, they wind up with it. But it is 4th down. They're scrimmaging from the 29, and they've got to go to the 8-yard line to keep it going. Here comes pressure. Over the middle, ball underthrown, incomplete. And Lorig with a lot of pressure, and the quarterback, Moival, lost his headgear in the fray. Stanford will take it over.
What an excellent job by Ron Lynn, because he knew the defensive coordinator at Stanford shares the title with Andy Boo, but to run a route to 20 yards takes a long time. So that time he brought the pressure with Snyder and knew that they would get the ball out of Moival's hand faster than he wanted to.
So we got a commercial timeout. We'll take it with them. 8:07 left in our ball game. Stanford 36-20. We'll be right back.
Gentlemen, start your engines. Let's go get them. Good luck. All right, driver, tighten your belts up. Ready? All right, man, here we go. These cars off. 2, 1, green flag.
NASCAR Nationwide, the Camping World 300, this Sunday only on NASN.
So we're back, a 16-point lead by the Cardinal. And how about this number? If you've just joined us, Stanford, time of possession in the second half, only 6 minutes and 58 seconds, but they have scored 19 points. Now straight ahead with the carry is Gerhardt. And that puts them, that carry right there, over 200 rushing yards. I don't care what league you're in, when you hit that mark, you're not going to lose a lot of football games.
And that was really the toughest part for Stanford last year. Of course, they had the big win against USC. Let's not discount the win at the end of the season in the big game against Cal. It was a huge boost for their ego, but they couldn't run the ball. They were down to, I mean, you know, we heard the report a moment ago that Gatewood, the defensive back, was in for x-rays. Well, he was moved to running back last year because they were down to 5th and 6th string.
Against Notre Dame, he played running back. He sure did. Ooh, what a hit at the line of scrimmage on Gerhardt this time. And that was Cornell, Brian Cornell, senior.
And, you know, we were talking during the break that Jim Harbaugh's done such a masterful job here at Stanford, and he's put together a really good staff of young players. He was smart enough when he lost his defensive coordinator, Scott Schaefer, to Michigan when the change happened there, to go out and bring in Ron Lynn, who he had worked with when they were assistants together at Oakland. But one of the names that popped out in our meeting was Chris Dahlman, his offensive line coach, and what a great job he's done. This offensive line is playing very physically.
Well, I think what you're saying, you know, when you put it all together, is we got a little quarterback keeper right here, and they'll pick up the first down. He's out of bounds at around the 40. The clock, you know, as soon as they spot the ball, the clock will start again. To me, what's impressive is it says that Coach Harbaugh's ego is not important. He has surrounded himself with really good coaches, young and old.
Well, you know, the Harbaugh family doesn't have much of a coaching tree in their family. I mean, it's in their blood. It really is. Of course, his brother John is now the head coach for the Baltimore Ravens. His dad, longtime coach at Western Kentucky.
I did his national championship game in 1AA at Chattanooga and back in the 90s.
Learned a ton from working with his dad, who built an unbelievable program there.
Now this is Kimball, who's going to be denied the line of scrimmage. And we'll take a look at that coaching tree. There's Jack on the left.
And, of course, Tom Crean, the head coach at Indiana, is the brother-in-law, married to Jack Harbaugh's daughter, John and Jim's sister. And the one that's not on the coaching tree, we couldn't fit him, is Jay Harbaugh.
That's right.
Jim's son is a student assistant over for Oregon State.
By the way, Jack, to the left there, the father, coached 41 years, including 14 years at Western Kentucky. And, as I said, won a 1AA championship. And there's Gerhardt moving the pile again. And as we look on the far sideline, that's Jay, Jim's son, who is on that Oregon State staff. So everybody, he's now included, getting his feet wet as far as the coaching profession.
And
Oregon State.
And you can tell by Jay Harbaugh's face and Stan's arms crossed. There's no confliction about what he feels like right now. He doesn't care that his dad's team is winning. He's upset that the team he's now working with has not had a very good showing tonight.
Let's go down the sideline. Jack Arute, what do you have for us?
Well, Ron, it's no surprise when you go through that coaching tree that maybe you could say that Jimmy Harbaugh's a little bit old school. Consider who he played for at Michigan as well. So when he got here to Stanford, what did he want to do? Last year he had a lot of injuries, so he preached in the offseason the importance of getting back to fundamentals, but most importantly, number one, he wanted his team to get tougher. In a symbolic gesture, what he did is he broke out work shirts. Remember those old work shirts like you go to the guy that fixes your car at the local gas station?
Of course, yeah.
The blue work shirts, they all have their names embroidered against them. He said, we're going to be a tough blue-collar team. The guys are prouder of those blue shirts, I think, sometimes, than their regular uniforms.
Well, you know, Jack, the one thing that they're going to fight here is this is such a great academic school that you don't think the football team is going to be tough. Listen, the athletic program here is second to none, top to bottom, but the football team historically has not been great year after year after year, and so you kind of have to change that culture from just, you know, thinking they're students first, athletes second.
Pritchard goes on top of this throw into the overthrow. It was Baldwin who they were trying to get it to, and that's going to stop the clock at 5:19. It's fourth down.
I should clarify that. They're always students first, athletes second, but what the Stanford football players want to be known as not just students. And I think a lot of people around the country kind of think of that, programs like Duke and Stanford, but they're really trying to change that culture here.
Well, Green has really been a weapon tonight, and he hangs this one long and high again. No fair catch signal for by Strother, and he's gone all the way back to the 5-yard line, and we may have a block in the back at around the 10.
Ron, I thought we were going to be able to do our first football game in 3 years together without an illegal block in the back on the punt, and with 5:07 left, we've got one.
And it's pretty obvious.
It's like you can't coach it for some reason. It's so clear.
You know, Strouder kind of set
During
up.
the return, illegal block in the back above the waist. Number 45 in the return team. Penalty will be half the distance from the end of the run. First down.
Louis. David Louis is the one who the flag is thrown on, so we'll take a timeout. Score remains 36-20. Stanford, just over 5 minutes to play, and we're going to stay right here, I've just been told.
We just wanted to hear the music cued.
Yeah, plus it makes the clock run a little quicker. We get a chance to do the post game. Brings a smile to everyone's face. So from his own end zone, they fake the run and a pass out in the flat, and this is to the older Rodgers, and James is going to take it out in the vicinity of the 20-yard line.
You know, I know we've been talking a lot about the great job Stanford's been doing, but let's not forget, there's still 5 minutes left.
Yes.
Of course, out of bounds, Oregon State's got to go because as soon as it's set, they're going to run it. But they're still only down, technically, 2 touchdowns, 2 two-point conversions. Now, that's a lot because 2-point conversions are like scoring again after the drive. But with the guys like James Rodgers and Strouder, they can hit a home run quick and be right back in it.
Very. 1st and 10 from the 20. 4 minutes and 43 seconds and clock running. Straight ahead. And this is the littlest of the Rodgers. Let's take a look at the last 4 drives by Oregon State, and this speaks volumes as to what has gone right and what has not gone right. 2 plays, minus 25 and a safety. That was on the backward pass. 10 plays, 55 yards, and interception. Boy, they were looking good on that one. And then 3 plays, the ball is tipped. Another that was the interception for a touchdown, I should say. As Catchings, and they're going to say that he is down. The ball is not turned over.
Well, and this is one of the new reviewable plays that they've added. If they determine that there is a well, he looked down to me. It looked clear to me that he was down. But now what they're allowing is if it looks like in the immediate action after the runner was down, if the ball came out, now they are going to review this one.
The ruling on the field is under review.
Now it looked to me pretty clearly that Catching's knee was down. But one of the new reviewable plays, if a ball carrier is judged down by rule, if the ball is recovered in the immediate action following the fumble, they can review this. But it looked to me like his knee was down. What do you think? Let's see.
I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
I saw what I thought was a pretty sure thing back in the first half, and they reversed it. So all I'm saying is I don't care if they hold it or reverse it. Just
After
do
review,
it. There we go.
The ruling on the field is confirmed.
Coach Riley looking on. He said one of the funniest things in our phone call the other day. You know, he played at Alabama, and he said for 2 years, I recruited myself so hard to Alabama. He said the coaches got tired of getting video on me, and he was sending it to him himself. He wanted the scholarship to play with the Crimson Tide. Got that one complete. Ball is knocked loose from Reese as he goes out of bounds.
You know, it was interesting that
see that they're going to take this back a yard because you can't pick up yardage or any distance on a fumble. That's the reason they're making the offensive line step back.
Talk a little bit in a moment after this play about Mike Riley and what he wanted to be at Alabama.
Blitz coming off the corner. Quick pass to the near sideline, thrown complete to Catchings.
It was funny talking to Mike Riley, who went to Corvallis High School right there in Corvallis, and he was a left-handed quarterback, and they said, well, why did you want to go to Alabama? Well, all of his dad's side of the family is from Alabama. As a matter of fact, his uncle was the baseball coach there. He said, I was a left-handed quarterback. I was going to be the next Kenny Stabler. One weekend, got switched to defensive back.
Well, it's probably one of the few times that a quarterback's been switched to defensive back as a flag comes down on the far sideline.
It was interesting what he said about what he learned from Bear Bryant, because he said, look,
All-star offense, number 56. 5-yard penalty, still third down.
he said, I was really far down on the depth chart. And what he learned from Bear Bryant was establish a system that treats everybody fairly at all times, no matter where they are. And he said, I've learned that, and you can tell from his players that he does. Mike Riley and his staff treat all of their players very fairly.
And going back to the numbers that you gave earlier in the ballgame of the last 2 years, they are second as the pass is thrown complete at the 45. Second only to Southern Cal as far as wins in the Pac-10 Conference. Now, a lot of people wouldn't realize that. They might guess a half dozen other teams, but it wouldn't be Oregon State necessarily.
And it's strange because it kind of feels like deja vu right now from last season, the season before. Start slow, and they've always finished strong, and they kind of fall off the map. And this is the type of game that could do that.
Blown coverage wide open down the sideline as Morales, and Morales is finally pushed out of bounds. Well, actually, they said he stepped out of bounds way back at the 21-yard line.
Well, don't count these guys out yet. Down 16, and Morales, if he can find a way to stay in, may score on this. Boy, that was just absolute blown coverage. There's Michael Thomas again, that true freshman who just got spun around. Look, the young man has ability, but they're going to have to spend some time on the chalkboard and watching film, getting him straightened out.
Jack Rose Rogers in the ball game. Pass over the middle. It is caught. It's going to be first and goal as Strother is there to make the catch. First and goal, Beavers inside the 5.
And you want to go real fast here because once they set it, they'll start it. Don't let any time go. And remember, you're thinking 2 scores here. And I don't mean 2 touchdowns. I mean score this touchdown and then a 2-point conversion, which is like another touchdown.
From the shotgun, looking, got a man, and there's your touchdown. There's one of them. Strother on the catch. And all of a sudden, we got a 10-point ball game. Now let's see where they ask for the ball to be spotted. Which hash marker in the middle of the field.
And you start to think at 3 minutes, you've got 2 timeouts left, and the way that Stanford's been running the ball, I think you might have to try an onside kick here. I just feel like with Gerhardt, the way he's been running, Kimball mixed in there, I don't think you can be convinced that you can stop Stanford from picking up. Probably all they need would be 1, maybe 2 first downs to run this out. So I think if you get this, or whether you get it or not, I think you have to think about an onside kick.
So here comes the 2-point conversion, and they had put the ball on the left hash mark. And you see 3 wide receivers out to the right. Looking, got it. Morales scores it. 2-point conversion is good.
Boy, Morales has really played himself into being a key player.
So let's take, as we go to break, a look at the touchdown and then the 2-point conversion. Here's the touchdown to Strother. And then the 2-point conversion to Morales as he sits down underneath the 2 driving wide receivers. So you look at Mike Riley on the far sideline. Stanford had 2 different groups lined up on the near sideline. One was the regular return team, which is trotting out there, it appears right now. The other was the good hands team. Well, looking for the possibility, not possibility, but the onside.
And remember the relationship between Mike Riley and Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh played quarterback for Mike Riley with the San Diego Chargers. So you've got to think that Harbaugh's got a little insight into what he may do here. It looks like they're going to kick it away. And it's right on that edge. Listen, I'm going either way on this. I just think the way Stanford has run the ball, even though you have 2 timeouts, 3 minutes, I think you got to try an onside.
Yep, he kicks this one away and is going to be grabbed at the 2-yard line, and that's Baldwin. Now it's time for Sports Center right now. Let's go to Scott Reese.
All right, Ron, we begin with a little baseball. Cubs and Phils beginning a 4-game series at Wrigley, and Aramis Ramirez is your hero with a grand slam. Cubbies win it 6-4. Mets lead the Phils by a game in the National League East. And a good start for Steve Spurrier in South Carolina, 34-0 over NC State. The Pack also shut out by Maryland to end last season, so it's back-to-back shutouts. SportsCenter, 1:15 a.m. Eastern, ESPN. Back to Palo Alto.
Okay, Scott, thanks so much. You know, people probably should start talking a little bit about not only Coach Spurrier's offense, but about his defense, because we know that Georgia's good on defense. We know that Florida's good on defense. And it appears that the Gamecocks are pretty doggone good as well.
Yeah, they're the team that fell off the
leaving out Tennessee. I mean, they're more than, I mean, they're formidable. So that East is really, really a rough group of customers in the SEC. Patron in the ball game at fullback. Gerhardt, and they're just going to run this one, take as much time as they can. Oregon State, if you're asking, they've got 2 timeouts left, and our clock is running at 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in the ball game.
Yeah, and the rule is that you don't use one after first down when you have 2, because if you use it and then they get a first down, you've wasted it. You kind of wait to see if you can get them to third down, then you use it there. And even if they pick up the first down, I mean, at that point, you know, you're not really wasting it. But if you took it here and they pick up the first down, you'd have wasted it. So good strategy not to use it.
Second down and 9. Clock at 2:12 when they snap it. And straight ahead with the run. And now it is third down. And a timeout being called. And that is one of 2 that they had left. So they have stopped the clock at the 2:06 mark.
And now here comes the cat and mouse. And look, Jim Harbaugh's only been a head coach in the Football Bowl subdivision for 2 years. He spent a couple of years down at San Diego, went 29-6 in what was Division I AA at the time. But this is decision, and you can see on his face, you know, you're tempted, especially as an ex-quarterback, to say, you know what, let's throw a screen, let's do something, get it away from the line of scrimmage. You're tempted to do it. The problem is, if something goes crazy and the ball's tipped and it's incomplete, now Oregon State's going to get the ball back with barely any time off the clock and a timeout in their hip pocket to go into offense. So it's tempting, but I still think you run it and make Oregon State use that timeout.
Well, a guy who's been a real weapon tonight has been David Green. And he has kicked them out of trouble a couple of times. And they may be having to go to Greeny here shortly with a 3rd down and 10.
And that penalty on
the sideline.
That penalty, the block in the back on that kickoff return. We went to SportsCenter now, but there was a penalty. That's a big deal because it backed them up down inside the 15-yard line.
Well, they're in a shotgun. And Pritchard's going to keep it. Don't go out of bounds. Well, he's going to.
And the clock should start by rule. Remember, it's under 2 minutes.
That's right, under 2.
So the clock should start. I did too. Yeah.
I thought that's how long it was going to take, but as it turns out, not a bad play.
They should whistle this. And there goes the referee signal, and the clock starts. That's the new rule change. So Stanford they should not quick kick this. Boy, I hope they know that clock's running. This would not be smart to not use a 25-second
They
clock.
got 13, still 12 seconds, 11, 10, and they snapped it with 10 seconds. And a line drive kick. Strauner, far sideline. Oh, what a block he gets.
Boy, but what great field position because of that penalty, Ron. You know, it was the block in the back on the kickoff return, and I think a mistake by Stanford's punt team. That clock started because it wasn't under 2. It has to be under 2 minutes.
Ball was snapped, 10 seconds left.
Yep, let's see.
We'll see if 10 seconds has anything to do with anything. 39 on the punt, 6 on the return. Pass thrown low, incomplete. I'll tell you, Osai was very close to coming over the top and making a pick on this. Chris Johnson, the intended receiver.
And, you know, in fairness to both Coach Harbaugh and Coach Riley, because if Coach Riley would have known the clock would run, he may have used that last time out. We had to meet with the officials before this game to say, look, at that 2 minute without a bounds, what do you do? And they had to clarify for us, no, at 1:59 and below is when we started. At 2:00, we're going to run it if a guy goes out of bounds, and that's exactly what happened there.
Second down and 10. Pressure coming off the top. Ball is thrown complete. Morales steps out of bounds at the 35-yard line. That's good for the Oregon State first down. And the Beavers are very much alive after the gain of 12 with 1:20 showing on the clock.
Boy, with us talking all about Jack Quiz and James Rogers, and I think Harbaugh's saying, where did this Morales guy come from? He is killing us.
Well, he just started biting his offensive game plan as a flag goes down. And I'll wait and see. But it looks as though we had a false start on the part of Oregon State.
Prior to the snap, false start. Offense, number 85. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Yep. Cannot be going backwards right now. And
look at the numbers on Morales. We were talking about, you know, what he has brought to the table tonight. 12 receptions, 132 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, he's not going to average a lot of yards, but that's not his job. His job is to be working underneath, and he's done it max
control guy.
Yep.
And look at what Sammy has done. First down and 15. Deep over the middle, and it is into double coverage.
Yeah, that was not a... Royval's got to be careful. That was double coverage the whole way. Get the safety underneath and the cornerback over the top. And now you're sitting here at minute 16. One timeout left. Second down. And look, you know, if you throw it in the middle of the field, you may have to use that timeout. But I think that might be the place you go. I think you want to cut it down to a reasonable third down.
If you just joined us, 36-28. Stanford led by 16 just a moment ago. Oregon State with a second down and 15. Almost lost that snap. Drills it over the middle. It is caught, and there's Morales again. Catch number what? That's number 12.
He does a fantastic job of catching the ball away from his body and doesn't let it into his pads.
Catch 13.
Boy, and give Oregon State tons of credit. Second time they've done this in the game. Remember, a minute and a half left in the first half. They did the exact same thing.
1:06 to play. Back in the pocket. Got a man. That's Strouder. Headed for the sideline, and the veteran gets out of bounds to stop the clock at 59 seconds. A younger player might have just gone down on the field. He saved a ton of time.
Absolutely. Right when he caught that ball, he turned and was not worried about an extra yard or two. He took off straight for the sideline. That was really wise play by Strouder.
How do you spell overtime? We got 59 seconds left in our ball game. An 8-point lead. 36-28. On second down. Ball batted down at the line of scrimmage. And that was Maynard, the linebacker, the weak side linebacker out of Jupiter, Florida, who got up. And you could see Spears, the man who was trying to block him.
Here's a crazy thought. As Maynard does a nice job, he was totally tied up knocking this ball down. But you've got third down. You've got a timeout, 57 seconds left. Stanford's thinking you might try to pick up a first down. I think maybe try to run a post.
Well, let's see.
One of the guys down below for a touchdown because you're going to go 4-on-4.
Doesn't matter what down it is. Third down. They need to take it to the 12-yard line to get the first down. Looking, dumps it over the middle. There's your catch. At the 10, at the 5, reaching for the end zone.
Oh, I think he fumbled through the end zone, Ron.
Let's see if a beanbag went down.
It did.
It's a touchback. It is a touchback.
Yeah.
The rule on that is he lost the ball in the field of play, and it went into the end zone and out of bounds, and it is touchback. It is Stanford football at the 20-yard line.
And Catchings, a second-year sophomore, makes a big mistake. There was no reason for him to extend. There was no reason for him to try to extend for the touchdown. Just duck your head, get as much as you can. You've got one timeout left.
End zone, touchback.
Wow. He just, it looked to me like Clinton
Snyder.
Snyder.
Yep.
No, excuse me.
It hit the sideline, I believe.
Yep. That was Taylor Scoffel coming over from his safety who hit that arm.
Yeah, but the ball is out of bounds, fumbled it out of the side of the end zone, touchback, so all for naught.
Wow.
I know Coach Riley is not very happy. He wants to,
and he's got a timeout, so I think he's going to ask for a review.
Field is under review.
But unfortunately,
so with 47 seconds showing on the clock, Stanford is going to have the ball at their own 20-yard line with a 36-28 lead. And the difficult thing is after this kind of drive, and Ketching's just trying to do everything he could, but the minute he lost the football, he's still in the field of play.
Yeah.
And well, he was close, but it doesn't matter. He lost the ball in the field of play, and when you lose it, it either goes out of the back or the side of the end zone. That is a touchback.
Yeah, the ball is clearly out. You can see the hand that the ball was in.
Well, with 47 seconds left, what the youngster's going to realize?
Yep.
They got a first and goal at the 1.
After review,
the
ruling on the field is confirmed.
Yeah. I mean, you feel bad for the young man. He's trying to make a play, but
you cannot fault a kid for giving just 110%.
There's no bigger cheerleader in the building.
He knows the rules, though. A lot of head coaches don't. They'll take a knee.
Well, take nothing away from Oregon State to fight back.
No. They were
put it all the way down. Yeah, put it literally the 1-yard line. And, you know, the one thing they're going to have to do, because they're going to need Daryl Catchings as they go through this season. They go to Penn State next week. They're going to need this young man to learn from his mistake. They don't need to beat him up. Just teach him, look, we had the ball on the 1. Clock would have stopped to move the chains. We had 1 timeout. We're right where we wanted to be. But give credit to Stanford. They never stopped hustling, and that was Scoffel who didn't stop hustling on that play and knocked the ball out.
So, what a finish. It took a safety on a backwards pass that went out of the end zone, and the other strangest play of the night, a fumble that goes out of the end zone. Jack, let's go down to you.
Coach Harbaugh, congratulations. What was the difference maker tonight?
Just the way the kids prepared themselves, not only in training camp, but all year long. They take care of each other. They lift each other up. They got great integrity. They trust each other, and they believe in each other.
I know before this game you said, hey, if I could have played a cream puff, that would have been a lot better maybe where we were at. But now you're 1-0 in Pac-10 play. What does that do for the confidence of your team?
Well, it does a lot. You know, now we got to prepare for Arizona State, and they're going to be tough as heck. I mean, Oregon State's going to be a heck of a football team. Sometimes they struggle early. We got them at a good time, and they're going to win a lot of games.
Gerhardt's a real horse.
Good. He's a real deal.
Let's go get him right now. Toby, congratulations.
Hey, we got to stay by our man. Hey, John.